Chapter 1389. Shueishenqi could be said to be a governor. This was not a title that could be conferred by the big families or the 7 major sects in the Thousand-Star City. It was earned in a real war. None of the people who could be the supreme commander were simple. They all fought their way out of a sea of blood. Ordinary people could only stay on the Scattered Stars Island for 4 to 8 years. During this period there was a very high probability of death. If they didn't die, many of them would apply to return to the villages and towns to teach and educate the people after their service. However, generally speaking, those who could live for 7 or 8 years on the Scattered Stars Island were either peak-level hidden fishers or law enforcers. Among them, many people had long been used to life on the Scattered Stars Island. Why did they suddenly return to the villages and towns to teach and educate the people? They weren't used to it. Shueishenqi scolded them coldly, not giving face to these big families at all. He said, "I don't care what status you have in your families in the Thousand-Star City. However, now that you're on the Scattered Stars Island, you have to listen to me. If you don't want to, leave and never appear on the Scattered Stars Island again in the future. Otherwise, you'll have to bear the consequences." The Supreme Commander was so majestic. The eyes of the 2 explorers behind him were cold. Even at this moment, even if they had to fight against the 4 venerables, they still dared to do so. Yang Kuen's face turned red. As a venerable, he was taught a lesson by a junior. How could he bear it? But when he was about to speak, he heard Chu Qing's voice. "Okay, don't fight over this matter. The fate of the Supreme Commander of the Scattered Stars Island is very complicated. They are all figures personally selected by the commander-level powerhouses. Similarly, in addition to the inheritance of positions, there is also the inheritance of a powerful sea-quelling bizarre treasure. Even in a one-on-one battle, Shueishenqi is not someone you can deal with alone." Hearing this, Yang Kuen was slightly shocked. However, he still snorted and went into the void. In fact, Shueishenqi never expected to use these people. The wild ambitions of the aristocratic families were as clear as day. If he treated them politely, he would probably be bullied to death. Shueishenqi also snorted coldly. "Chu Qing, Yi Kai, hide in the void. If the other party's mid-level venerables don't come out, you 2 don't need to take action. Yang Kuen, Sun Baixing, the 2 of you will hold the fort. If there is a battle between venerables, you must take the lead and do not shirk your responsibilities." Shueishenqi looked arrogant, and a disdainful smile appeared on his face. "If I want to deal with you, then I'll let you hold the line openly. Let me ask you this, do you dare to not do so?" In the vast ocean, a war that spanned hundreds of thousands of miles with less than 200,000 people was actually not a big one at all. Of course, no one would be stupid enough to split up and fight. After the initial confrontation, the battlefield would be pulled apart. Some people would be led further and further away. The hanging fishers, hidden fishers, law enforcers, explorers, and venerables all had their own battlefields, and there would also be experts supervising the battles to prevent certain unfair things from happening. Just like Han Fei, he charged into the battlefield of hidden fishers with the combat power of a venerable. A casual slap could kill a group of people. Therefore, in the previous battle, the sea demons really lost unjustly. The supervising powerhouse was killed by Han Fei with a single punch. Even the venerable big demon watching on the side couldn't escape Han Fei's hands. Although Han Fei broke the rules in that battle, it was enough to show the value of a strong expert. A true powerhouse could completely rely on the strength of a single person to determine the outcome of a battle. This was the 9th day after Han Fei came back and disappeared. The Scattered Stars Island had already entered the highest state of alert. At this critical moment, the Logistics Division had also participated in the deployment of frontline supplies. Except for the twisted jungle, the entire coastline was guarded every kilometer. As long as there were sea demons attacking the island, troops would be mobilized. Although the Scattered Stars Island was small, It was still nearly 2,000 kilometers long and could accommodate millions of people. Just the daily population of the island was about 1 million. Because of the rotation system and multiple organizations, the total population of the scattered stars island could reach nearly 3 million when it was not at war. At this moment, all the people were participating in the war, and the 4 cities were almost empty. Seeing this scene, the food in Ning Jing's hand didn't taste good anymore. She found that the people of the Yinyang heaven were really ruthless. From the looks of it, they were treating humans like the Zergs, right? Especially in the battle at Pearl Harbor. At this moment, Ning Jing saw that nearly 60,000 human soldiers had gathered. Among them, there were 10,000 people who were hidden fishers or above. If Han Fei were here, he would have found that different from the battle on the ancient battlefield. This time, Shueishenqi even used peak-level hidden fishers. 50,000 kilometers away from the Pearl Divers port was the limit of human support. After all, there were only so many people. If they went any further, they wouldn't be able to take care of all of them. Also, Shueishenqi was very sure that the sea demons attacked the Pearl Divers port because their real target wasn't here. This time, he was so bold because Han Fei brought back a trump card, which was Jing. Of course, such a trump card couldn't be used under normal circumstances. However, whether he used it or not was one thing, and whether he had it or not was another. On the Sea of Pearls, where the armies were confronting each other, the one who challenged Shueishenqi was Blue Feather, the leader of the 8 wings of Blue Feather. However, just like Shueishenqi, Blue Feather was also a venerable. After all, even the Sea Demon King City had come out. The strength of the 10,000 Demon Valley at this time was not the same as before. The more experts they had, the more confidence they had. Blue Feather sneered, and his voice was so loud that it could be heard everywhere. Shueishenqi, you're very bold today. Aren't you worried that I'll eat all your people? Shueishenqi's face was cold, and his voice was equally loud. Everyone can talk big. Why don't you eat one of them? Blue Feather's face turned cold and he gnashed his teeth. Shueishenqi, in the battle a few days ago, the venerable of the Sea Clan died, and all the Tao-seeking state and sea spirits were annihilated. Don't think I don't know that it was your trick. You broke the rules and quickly suppressed the sea demons, leaving me no excuse. Good move. You betrayed the rules and killed one of our venerables, 10 sea spirits, and more than 4,000 sea demons. You won't lose anything from this, will you? Shueishenqi sneered. I don't know what you're talking about. Besides, you have the nerve to mention the rules? Every time a battle breaks out, the sea demon army is several times larger than the human race. Is this what you call fairness? Is this what you call the rules? I didn't care about it before, but now I can't be careless. Blue Feather sneered. We sea demons have a large number of people. What can you do to us? Shueishenqi said lightly, the human race has many means. What can you do to us if we kill you? Both sides, whether it was the humans or the sea demons, were pondering. The sea demons were full of confidence. General Blue Feather personally led the battle, and the news that the human race didn't abide by the rules spread everywhere. For a time, roars filled the sky. Roar! Destroy the human race. Those who don't abide by the rules deserve to be slaughtered. How can a small human race talk about the rules? This time, we must destroy the scattered star island. And the human race also didn't show any weakness. The battlefield at the bottom was not far away. After all, if they fought on their own, the 2 armies would have to fight each other, so they naturally had to be closer. When the 2 armies fought on the waves, their roars shook the sky. That was heroic and extraordinary. Hearing all kinds of mockery from the sea demons, someone immediately looked up to the sky and roared, Little brat, bullsh *t. Why do we need to pretend to kill the enemy? Someone scolded angrily, what a joke! The sea demons have never been strong. Our human race has many strong masters. It's easy for us to defeat you. Every time there is a war, The number of sea demons is several times that of the human race. How dare you talk here? If I were you, I would have committed suicide long ago. Above, a sea demon venerable seemed to be dissatisfied with Shueishenqi's attitude. He tore the void and stepped out. This person said coldly, "The human race only has a territory of 1,000 kilometers. Do you think you can defeat the sea demon army? Who gave you the courage?" Shueishenqi glanced at him indifferently. "Me. You're so impatient that you can jump out and refute me? Bluefeather, you're the master of the 10,000 Demon Valley, but you can't even control your own venerable?" Bluefeather's face changed slightly. Shueishenqi, this bastard, said this on purpose. He was trying to sow discord between him and the strong masters in the royal city. Of course, the sea demon venerable was not stupid. He knew what he meant. He shouted, "The human race only controls this part of the world, a mere 1,000 li in circumference. Why do you have to fight so hard? Shueishenqi, let's see how you can stop us this time." Shueishenqi snorted coldly. "Elites? I've probably fought more battles than you've eaten. Who do you think you're fooling?" Shueishenqi didn't bother to talk to him and said bluntly, "Sun Baixing, this person is yours. If you let him in, you'll be punished by military law." Wasn't Sun Baixing the new venerable of the Sun family? Just 8 or 9 years ago, he was beaten up by old Han to the point where he didn't even have the slightest temper. At this moment, he complained slightly, "Bastard, Shueishenqi is using a fish scale as a token of authority. But do you really think I'm a soldier when we're in the same realm?" Yang Kuan sneered. "I don't like his tone. In the future, he won't be able to come to the 1,000-star city." Chu Qing said, "Just go. After all, we have more important things to do on the Scattered Stars Island." Shueishenqi's expression changed slightly. The void was torn apart, and Sun Baixing walked out, holding 2 knives and pointing at the sea demon venerable. "Your battlefield is not here. Do you want me to ask you to leave, or do you want to leave?" The sea demon venerable sneered. "I'm a new human venerable. Let me have a try." The sea demon venerable was taken away. As the main force of the battlefield, the hanging fishers and the hidden fishers were already furious. Bluefeather said, "The 12 Dao-seeking venerables, each lead an army and attack." Shueishenqi's face was cold and his eyes were ruthless. He roared and the void shook, "Kill!" At the same time, at the bottom of the Empyrean waterfall, Han Fei's body suddenly shook and water splashed. The violent energy in his body poured out. "I've mastered the indestructible body." Chapter 1390. Standing on the huge head of the wreckage of the Cloud Whale, Han Fei felt the terrifying energy contained in his body, only to feel that his understanding of power seemed to be a little different. Besides, when he mastered the indestructible golden body, he also reached the realm of the peak-level explorer. This time, Han Fei didn't deliberately make a breakthrough. He just achieved it naturally. Han Fei looked at his own information immediately, and he was a little shocked by what he saw. Owner Han Fei level greater than 79, peak level explorer, spiritual energy 290,000/290, 000 spiritual power 43055/43055, perception range greater than 5,800 kilometers, strength greater than 1,708 waves, first spiritual heritage unknown, second spiritual heritage unawakened, first spiritual beast twin yin-yang spirit swallowing fish level 67, second spiritual beast unawakened main art sky stealing technique level 6 of void fishing, venerable level divine quality. The upper limit of spiritual energy increased by 50,000 points. The power of his soul increased by more than 2,000 points. His perception increased by 1,300 kilometers. His strength increased by nearly 700 waves. Oh no, before Han Fei came down, although he could already rival a venerable, his strength at that time was less than 900 waves. But now? His strength almost doubled. This was a pure increase in strength without using any secret technique. What did this mean? Secret techniques always had a time limit and required a lot of energy to maintain. However, if his own strength was so sufficient, he wouldn't have to consider this problem at all. He only needed to ensure his normal energy consumption. It could be said that the indestructible golden body directly made Han Fei's comprehensive strength several times stronger than that of the previous advanced explorer realm. This was just the peak-level explorer. After this, there was still the demi-venerable realm. In fact, the three realms, the peak-level advanced explorer, the peak-level explorer, and the demi-venerable, were theoretically on the same line because their levels were the same. However, in terms of strength, the difference was like heaven and earth. Ordinary people cultivated hard and finally reached the peak-level advanced explorer, which was just the end of this realm. However, there were also strong and weak people in the same realm. Therefore, those who worked hard to pursue perfection and unearth their potential would eventually become peak-level explorers. If a peak explorer began to seek the Great Tao and beg for a breakthrough, then after comprehending a certain Great Tao or grasping a portion of the Great Tao's power, this realm would be known as half-venerable. In terms of levels, these three stages were actually the same. In terms of strength, it was not easy to differentiate them. After all, everyone had a different foundation. For example, compared with some ordinary explorers, Han Fei was very different. Han Fei felt that he had reached his peak and his strength had soared. As long as it was completely stabilized and polished, the half-venerable realm actually had nothing to do with unearthing one's potential. It was completely related to the Great Tao. His strength had changed so much that he had to adapt to the gravity after taking a few steps casually. Han Fei's heart was surging. From the data alone, the data only provided the most intuitive value. As a matter of fact, Han Fei also felt that his ability to resist blows had probably exceeded the limits that normal people could understand. In fact, he didn't even know if it was an illusion or what. Han Fei felt that every drop of his blood seemed to be full of vitality. This naturally made Han Fei think of a possibility: blood rebirth? Gulp. Han Fei swallowed. Yes, he found that he might have mastered some power of the venerable realm and could be reborn from a single drop of blood. However, Han Fei was still confused and hurriedly asked, "Old Yuan, how exactly is the blood rebirth? My golden body has been formed. Even if I die in the future, if I can be reborn from a single drop of blood, what about my golden body?" What Han Fei meant was that if he died, his golden body would still be there, but if he was reborn, wouldn't his golden body be gone? The old turtle said, "You need to understand what blood rebirth means. Rebirth means that your soul is not destroyed. Blood rebirth means that you will have two ways. One is that you have a massive amount of energy to reconstruct a brand new self. As long as you have enough energy, your golden body will also be condensed. So, you don't have to worry about whether your golden body is golden or not." Han Fei breathed a sigh of relief and couldn't help but ask, "What's the other way?" The old turtle said leisurely, "That's even simpler. When you know you are going to die, break your flesh and blood into dust and store your golden body with your essence, blood or soul. In this way, the probability of being found is not very high. The premise is that your flesh and blood can escape the enemy. Otherwise, not even a drop of your blood or a wisp of your soul can escape. It's useless no matter where you hide. It's just blood rebirth, not immortal." The old turtle explained it thoroughly, and Han Fei immediately understood. Han Fei said, "Then I'd better not die. If the enemy can kill me, I'm afraid they won't give me a chance to escape." The old turtle said, "Of course. The so-called blood rebirth is only useful if the enemy can't kill you in a short time. If the enemy is much stronger than you, even if you are reborn 1,000 times, it will be useless." Suddenly, the old turtle was stunned. "Why do you ask this? Can you be reborn from a single drop of blood now?" Han Fei thought that the old turtle was not an outsider, so he immediately said, "Yes, I can feel it. It's just that it's not very obvious." The old turtle said, "Why don't you infuse some of your soul power into your flesh and blood?" Hearing the old turtle's words, Han Fei gave it a try. Immediately, the feeling became stronger. It seemed that every drop of his blood and every inch of his flesh and blood could be fused with some of his soul. Han Fei even felt that every drop of his blood was more active. Suddenly, Han Fei seemed to think of something, and the indestructible tyrant body immediately appeared in his mind, and he took a look at it. With this look, Han Fei immediately put on a wry smile. Sure enough, as I expected, the pure immortal body is not really indestructible. If a person's soul is destroyed, what's the point of just having a body? When the old turtle reminded him to infuse the power of his soul into his flesh and blood, Han Fei understood. To really be reborn from a single drop of blood? He needed every inch of his flesh and blood and every corner of his body to be filled with his soul. In other words, he needed to fuse his body and soul. When the fusion of the two was perfect, he could be reborn from a single drop of blood at any time and anywhere. Because at that time, his soul, at least in the land of his physical body, was everywhere. Of course, this kind of ability didn't seem to be achievable by Han Fei now. This was not a small project. First of all, he had to split his soul and smelt it. After the refinement, the divine soul would have to be connected to the main divine soul. It sounded simple, but it was by no means something that could be done overnight. To be reborn from a single drop of blood, he was like a human-shaped container. He needed to fill this container with his soul and let every cell be nourished by his own soul. Therefore, this was a long and drawn-out project. Han Fei no longer hesitated. After a while, he immediately shouted, "Fuse!" The yin-yang divine eyes appeared. Han Fei originally wanted to see through the remnant body of the cloud whale and find the demonic essence. However, when Han Fei looked over, he saw boundless clouds and mist. He was in the clouds and mist, and as far as his eyes could see, there was nothing but clouds and mist. Han Fei was about to come back to his senses, only to find that he couldn't. In the clouds and mist, a giant tail suddenly swept over. It was thousands of meters long, with earth-shattering power and boundlessly terrifying. Bam! Han Fei's body was whipped away by a white cloud. He rolled on the ground for hundreds of times before he stopped and hit a rock wall heavily. However, Han Fei didn't panic. He had seen a lot of the world. What could an illusion do to him? With a thought, Han Fei clenched one hand into a fist. Suddenly, flames ran through his entire arm, and he punched the giant tail head-on. This terrifying power shook the earth and the mountains. Only then did Han Fei slowly withdraw his consciousness from the mist. Feeling the shaking ground, he couldn't help but be surprised. What a powerful illusion! I just glanced at it and fell for it. The old turtle's voice sounded. It's not an illusion. That's its Tao. Look at what you've done. Han Fei looked sideways, only to find that the huge body of the cloud whale had been blasted dozens of meters away by his punch. Seeing this scene, he was a little embarrassed. For the first time in my life, I attacked the king, and I even blasted him dozens of meters away with a punch? Han Fei drew his sword. Kings can't peep. This big fish should be dead. Its broken body is already here. How long can you hide your demonic essence? The old turtle was speechless. What you saw should be a Tao. You have to cross that Tao to see where the demonic essence is. In the Empyrean waterfall, Han Fei's attack was so fierce that the Empyrean waterfall trembled slightly. However, the war in the outside world was very tense, so not many people knew about this matter. Below, on the corpse of the cloud whale, Han Fei entered the so-called Tao of clouds again. This time, facing the giant tail, Han Fei activated the Tao seed. Different Taos, different Taos. Han Fei didn't move, and the terrifying giant tail whistled past him, only a few meters away. Han Fei hid himself. I won't steal your Tao. You go your own way and I'll go mine. Without hostility in its heart, the Tao of the Cloud Whale seemed to have no hostility. Since he was already dead, how could a corpse have any emotions? Sure enough, a corpse was a corpse. The corpse was well preserved, and it didn't bury any creatures with it, so Han Fei didn't encounter any danger along the way. 3 hours later, Han Fei finally sensed the demonic essence under the shell of the huge fish's head. In any case, it was a king-level creature. Its body was so strong that Han Fei had searched for it for a long time even though its Tao hadn't been destroyed. Different from the one he met in the Snow God's temple, the demonic essence left by the Cloud Whale this time didn't leave a barrier to protect it. Looking at the bead of demonic essence that was as dazzling as silver stars, Han Fei reached out and grabbed it. Originally, he wanted to cut the Gordian knot and quickly take everything he could take. However, as he grabbed it, the scene in front of Han Fei changed. He saw a sea of people fighting fiercely in the sky and on the ground. Han Fei. Chapter 1391. Sea of Pearls. This time, Shueishenqi underestimated the determination of the sea monsters. The army of 100,000 was not afraid of death. On the surface of the sea, a sea of blood rose to the sky. The humans and sea demons refused to give in to each other, and the situation was extremely tragic. Someone's body was pierced in many places. Blood spurted out from his mouth and nose, but this person's expression was ferocious, and he was still shouting, "How can you sea demons take my life? Come with me, Grandpa!" Bang! Someone cursed angrily. "Old Sue, you son of a b*****, is it just a matter of a few seconds? Wait for me." An armorist, who had been hit by 6 spears, took out 2 iron claws from his armor box and caught 2 half-mermaid. The 2 half-mermaids panicked and desperately stabbed the spears in their hands at the man's body. "Madman, get lost! I'll blow you up!" Bang! Such a scene was not uncommon on the Sea of Pearls. It could even be said that there were many of them. The number of sea demons was twice that of humans, but the result of the fierce battle was equal. After all, humans were smarter than sirens. Of course, for some sea demons with very high realms, their intelligence was not inferior to that of humans. However, in this battle, most of the sea monsters were at the middle and lower levels. They made up the vast majority. Therefore, the intelligence of humans was generally higher than that of sea demons. From time to time, there would be explosions on the surface of the sea within a 10,000-kilometer radius. Furthermore, these self-destructing sounds were all made by humans. These people would drag a few sea demons with them before they died. It was truly a moving sight. Shueishenqi was expressionless. He couldn't move. On the side of the humans, it looked tragic, but their combat power was not weak. Both sides were evenly matched. No matter how much his heart ached, he was still the commander-in-chief. He had to look at the big picture. Many years ago, he had already become serious in speech and manner. At this moment, his icy cold and solemn face seemed as if it was drawn out by the lives of countless people. In his opinion, even if all the people on the Sea of Pearls were sacrificed, the Scattered Stars Island couldn't be touched. Perhaps the enemy was waiting for him to use the power of the Scattered Stars Island. Peaceful was still eating skewers. She wanted to see what Yin-Yang Sky's fight was like. But when Peaceful saw such a cruel scene, she couldn't help but clench her fist. She saw someone who had lost his legs but was still controlling the fishing boat and fighting. Finally, the man was impaled between the shoulder blades by 2 spears. He actually ignited his blood, using his body as a blade, rushing in front of the enemy, using his teeth to bite down on the sea fiend's neck, self-detonating. She saw someone's intestines flying all over the place, but his mouth was still shouting, "The human race is invincible. For the sake of my hometown, I'll give it my all." She saw a group of 5 separated from the battlefield and surrounded by more than 20 sirens. The 5 of them were actually talking and laughing. One of them said, "It's a pity that we haven't had a drink yet. It wasn't that such a scene didn't happen in the waterwood sky, but it wasn't as exaggerated as this. This was because the waterwood sky had the insect race, the fearless barrier, the wall of flames, and the ice wall. In terms of experts, Shuemu Heaven didn't lack anything. In terms of numbers, the Zerg's explosive army was terrifying. However, how could these races compare to the human race in terms of emotion and eloquence? Of course, there was also the Bone Jar ice field in the waterwood sky, where countless experts had died. However, in the Inyang sky, they didn't care about their lives at all. Self-detonation. With such a gentle explosion, even their souls exploded and dissipated between heaven and earth, never to be seen again. However, these people were chatting and laughing. How could they blow themselves up so easily? Huff Peaceful's eyes were slightly red, and she clenched her fists. The queen didn't allow her to attack, but these sea demons were too despicable. They outnumbered the humans twice as much. In her opinion, if the battle continued in this situation, even if the human race could win, there would be less than 10% of them left. Peaceful couldn't help but say to him via voice transmission, "The island still has the power to fight. Why are you only willing to use these people to fight?" Hearing the strange voice transmission, Shueishenqi immediately thought of the expert behind Han Fei. He said, "In war we fight for the big picture. Your Excellency, you should be able to see that these people who came with me today are not young anymore, and they have nothing to worry about at home." Peaceful said angrily, "They have nothing to worry about and they have to die? What's the reason?" Shueishenqi's expression didn't change. The longevity of the human race depends on killing. Without human sacrifice, how can there be a great world? How can there be a strong expert? How can there be hope? Peaceful couldn't influence Shueishenqi's thoughts. She had long discovered that although Shueishenqi's realm was not the highest, his strength was not the strongest. However, he was the most influential person on the Scattered Stars Island. As soon as he spoke, thousands of people followed him. In just half an hour, at least 50,000 people died in the Sea of Pearls. This was just the result of this round of fierce fighting. Although it seemed that fewer humans had died than the sea demons, this victory was too tragic. Peaceful was thinking, should I take action? No one here is a match for me. Including those venerables, I can easily kill them. However, the queen specifically told me not to intervene, unless Han Fei is in a life-and-death situation. But Peaceful was thinking, I have the ability to save him. If I don't save him, I will become a demon in my heart. Just when Peaceful was hesitating, she saw the void shake, and a figure appeared out of thin air. Even Peaceful didn't know where this person came from. However, when she took a closer look, she realized that it was Han Fei. In front of Han Fei's eyes, the battlefield was chaotic, and waves of battles were raging. He didn't have to spread out his perception, because hundreds of people had already scanned him. Among them, the perception of venerables also scanned him. Soon, Han Fei ran into a group of old acquaintances. Shueishenqi was supervising the battlefield and looking at this side. There were energy waves in the void. The venerables must be restraining each other. Except for a few who were commanding the battle, the Tao-seeking state demons and human explorers were mostly fighting in the void. Han Fei scanned again, only to find that there were many broken spiritual energy muscles on this battlefield. Is this the Sea of Pearls? Han Fei was dumbfounded. Shouldn't I be in the Cloud Whale's sea expansion space? Why am I in the Sea of Pearls? Fortunately, Han Fei had seen a lot of battles. He gasped. Damn it. Is the Cloud Whale's sea expansion space the Sea of Pearls? The old turtle was slightly stunned. Has the big fish merged its sea expansion space into reality? That doesn't make sense. It can still save some capital for resurrection in the sea expansion space. However, if it's merged into reality, its sea expansion space will be occupied by all kinds of creatures, and it's impossible for it to be resurrected. The old turtle didn't mean to look down on the kings. At the sea expansion realm, dying naturally wasn't easy. There were always various methods to allow one to survive. Even if they couldn't survive for a while, they could leave some means of resurrection for themselves. Whether or not the means worked, they would at least leave some means of resurrection. However, that big fish had actually brought his sea expansion realm to reality? If the two were merged, there was no possibility of resurrection. Not only Han Fei and the old turtle, but Xuexinqi and many other venerables were also stunned. Where the hell did Han Fei come from? He appeared out of nowhere? Didn't he have any premonition? Tranquility, who was watching the battle from afar, thought, isn't he on the island? Is there a mysterious channel under the waterfall? Xuexinqi knew very well that Han Fei went to the Empyrean waterfall. The reason why he appeared here was probably because there was a channel connecting the Empyrean waterfall to the Sea of Pearls. Otherwise, Han Fei couldn't have appeared without anybody noticing. Xuexinqi roared, Han Fei, listen to my command. Han Fei naturally sensed the gory battlefield here. Hearing Xuexinqi's voice that was already extremely cold, he immediately roared, Yes, sir. Xuexinqi ordered, Kill all the Tao-seeking state cultivators on the enemy's side. Leave none alive. Xuexinqi was quite happy about Han Fei's appearance. Although Han Fei was only an explorer, he had the combat ability of a venerable. It was safe to say that no Tao-seeking state cultivators on the enemy's side could defeat Han Fei. Although he didn't know how Han Fei appeared, it was a good thing that he did. Otherwise, Xuexinqi felt that he might activate the weapon himself if he held back for a while longer. Naturally, Han Fei didn't care why he appeared here. At this moment, a great battle was taking place in the Sea of Pearls, and the human battle participants' lives were at stake. Judging from Xuexinqi's eagerness and unquestioning tone, Han Fei knew that Xuexinqi couldn't wait any longer. Han Fei roared, Okay! Blue Feather was a little frightened. Is this Han Fei? It's been a few years. That kid was just a hidden fisher when I first met him. Is he a peak-level explorer now? Blue Feather shouted, Blood Valley 5 seals attack. Puff, puff. In the void, 5 figures broke through in a row. Blue Feather sneered. Xuexinqi, you didn't expect this, did you? I knew you might have some hidden means, but I didn't expect you to just hide a little kid. Although I don't know what method you used to forcibly increase your strength, do you think a peak-level explorer can make a difference on this battlefield? Do you really think the Blood Sea Valley has no strong masters for so many years? How dare you use a peak-level explorer as your trump card? When the Blood Valley 5 seals work together, they have the power of half a venerable. I'd like to see how Han Fei can resist them. Blue Feather sneered. Han Fei also glanced at the 5 people, only to find that they were 5 red demons. Among them, there was even an old acquaintance of his, Qishuahuan, one of the original 8 wings of Blue Feather. Although Qishuahuan had long been a peak-level sea spirit, he hadn't passed the tribulation when he left. Now he found that his strength was at the intermediate Tao-seeking state and had improved a lot. These 5 people were all red demons. Among them, Qishuahuan was the weakest, only at the intermediate Tao-seeking state. The strongest was a 6-armed red demon, holding 6 scimitars, whose strength was at the peak-level Tao-seeking state. The other 3 were all at the advanced Tao-seeking state. White light fell on these 5 people at the same time, and secret techniques were activated. Not only that, but the 5 of them somehow managed to summon a gigantic scorpion companion spirit together. The old turtle said, It's a kind of fusion technique. These 5 people eat each other's blood and practice forbidden technique. The summoned creature should be an ancient being, but it might not be the real one. Chapter 1392. Time was of the essence. When Han Fei saw the 5 restrictions of the Blood Valley, he thought to himself, the 8 feathers of Blue Feather are gone. What's the use of the 5 restrictions of the Blood Valley? Forget it, I might as well settle this once and for all. Whoosh! With a swish, Han Fei disappeared on the spot. He was so fast that Blue Feather didn't even notice him. How did he disappear? When Han Fei appeared again, it was no longer a figure, but a sword light that pierced through the sky and the earth. Bastard! This is the strength of an Exalt Realm expert? Blue Feather shouted. His first thought was that Han Fei had deceived him. However, it was already too late. Ice and snow suddenly appeared in the air. Above this boundless sea, water vapor drifted, and in an instant, ice particles filled the sky. At this moment, Han Fei could finally exert part of the power of the sea-quelling bizarre treasure. The might of a single sword strike caused all living beings within 1,000 miles to tremble in fear. As soon as the giant scorpion more than 300 meters long appeared, it was hit by Han Fei's sword. Flames flickered on the carapace, but in the blink of an eye, the fire dissipated, and his huge body was instantly covered in a layer of ice. Crack, 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 the giant scorpion's body was cracking, but the Blood Valley 5 hegemons were still in shock. Han Fei exclaimed in surprise. What a hard shell! A string of information appeared in Han Fei's eyes. Name, Ancient Demon Scorpion, Projection, Introduction. In ancient times, it was one of the overlords of the shallow sea. It lived in groups, and its leader was a demonic scorpion. It absorbed the essence of water and the essence of the blazing sun, giving birth to the white crystal demonic armor. Its defense was astonishing. It had a tail that could devour souls and seize souls. Its tail was swift and fierce, and its strength was extraordinary. It wasn't something an ordinary person could go against. Level 79 Quality Ancient Vicious Beast Spiritual Energy 200156 Realm Sea Demon Battle Skill Demonic Hook Soul Devouring Absorbable. Note: the projection of an ancient being will weaken over time. To be honest, he was quite surprised. This giant scorpion did not seem weak. However, the speed seemed to be a little slower. He had already slashed out with his sword. His head was already covered in cracks and snow, and his tail was just about to stab him. Buzz! Han Fei didn't even bother with the long hook. An object that was about to die couldn't even be considered a body. There was no need for him to waste any time on this scorpion. With a star transposition, he passed the body of the ancient demonic scorpion. Qishuahuan, one of the Blood Valley's 5 forbidden lands, shouted, "Impossible, how could you become so strong?" Among them, the peak-stage Tao-seeking inferior manfish held the golden harpoon and pointed it at the sky, creating a falling energy ball in the sky. Spirit Stunning Spike. Han Fei had replaced the embroidery needle in his hand. He also pointed at the void, and a terrifying and overbearing divine soul power instantly attacked the divine soul of a red demon. With a "ka" sound, it was as if something had cracked. There seemed to be many cracks on the red demon's head, and his aura immediately stagnated. Instant profound spear. Poochie. Bang! The red demon's attack hadn't succeeded yet. He thought, as a peak-level Tao-seeking expert, it shouldn't be a problem for me to stall Han Fei. However, how could he have thought of that? In the same realm, the gap in strength could sometimes be an insurmountable gap. The red demon had only unleashed one attack. He was still looking forward to how Han Fei would fight back. However, in the next moment, a hole was poked through his berserk attack. Then, there was no more and then. Among the 5 forbidden lands, someone roared, "Not good! Master Bluefeather, please take action quickly." Qishuahuan had already retreated. Seeing this scene, his scalp was numb. Is Han Fei still a human being? Bluefeather then shouted, "Han Fei, how dare you pretend to be a weakling? You're courting death." Bluefeather stepped on 3 giant sharks and spat out a green beam of light from his mouth, reaching Han Fei in an instant. Han Fei casually threw a punch. The sacrificing punch was extremely powerful. As soon as the two collided, the so-called Venerable's blow was shattered. Shueishenqi was already standing at a low altitude at this moment. He stretched out his hand and raised his hand, taking on all the remaining power. At this time, No matter how hard Han Fei fought, he wouldn't be a threat to the sea. On the sea battlefield, someone exclaimed, "Oh my God, that's Han Fei? Han Fei is fighting a venerable? Is the rumor true?" Meow, meow, meow. In the distance there was a phantom of a big cat running in the sky. Big Yellow shouted excitedly, "Han Fei, you're back! Light waits for me," the heavenly sound technique, and a melodious melody rose on the sea. The sound vibrated, and the waves of the sea were like sea beasts. In an instant, a peak-level sea spirit was distorted and made him explode. Juyin Ling looked at where Han Fei was, but she didn't come over. The battle in the sea was too fierce, and a strong master like her was besieged by many people. Turning around, Juyin Ling clasped her hands. Seal. Mystic sound kill. He Xiaoyu was originally on duty and wasn't included in the list of candidates for this battle. She volunteered to come. When she came, she probably knew that this battle would be extremely difficult. In fact, this battle was indeed rare. The team that he led was directly broken up. At this moment, He Xiaoyu was fighting 1 against 5, surrounded by rings of fire. She twisted her body in strange postures from time to time, narrowly dodging one blow after another. He Xiaoyu held her rod and attacked with it from time to time, accelerating the attack. So far, more than 10 sea demons had been killed by her. Just as He Xiaoyu was fighting hard, Blue Feather's voice reverberated in the sky. In the distance, the sword light in the sky seemed to be greeting him. "Captain, be careful." Not far away there was a scream. He Xiaoyu was hit by the sharp blade of a spinning Euro crab, and she was sent flying. Fortunately, He Xiaoyu's physique was extraordinary. The moment she was swept away, she quickly hid her figure, and with 2 daggers in hand, she rushed out again. At this moment, He Xiaoyu also saw it. However, Han Fei had his battlefield, and she had her own battlefield. They should both defend each other. After knocking Blue Feather back with a punch, Han Fei flashed 100 kilometers away, as if he had teleported. He was so fast that even the Tao-seeking state demons couldn't react. Pushed back by Han Fei's blow, Blue Feather had no time to change his move, but Han Fei was killing again. He could only watch helplessly. Bam! Puff! Except for the peak-level Tao-seeking state demon, who was killed by Han Fei's spear, the so-called 5 restrictions of the Blood Valley were all killed. As for the rest of them, Han Fei killed them with a punch, a knife, and a stick as fast as lightning. In the end, when there was only Qixue Huan left, Han Fei didn't even need to do it himself. He had already used the void lines. Although Qixue Huan seemed to have a soul-protecting secret treasure, how strong was Han Fei now? How could a soul-type secret treasure, which wasn't particularly powerful, stop Han Fei? Qixue Huan's body stagnated inexplicably, and Han Fei stepped directly to Qixue Huan's side. At this moment, Han Fei didn't have time to use the soul-searching technique, but he could use the void lines to check Qixue Huan's information. Images flashed in Han Fei's mind. He saw that outside the 10,000 Demon Valley, between the 10,000 Demon Valley and the Royal City, there was an underground crack. There was a picture of a venerable covered in blood crawling out of it. In addition, there seemed to be 3 sea demon venerables sitting cross-legged around the crack. In that crack, there seemed to be a trace of energy pulling. It seemed to be trying to make the crack bigger. "I see." Han Fei sneered. It was a place similar to a teleportation array. Sure enough, there was also a capital on the Yin-Yang heaven side, but the capital was restricted by some kind of power and couldn't come here directly. He didn't know what method Blue Feather used, but he just opened a gap between the 10,000 Demon Valley and the capital, from which people could pass through. Han Fei wasn't sure how many strong masters there were in the 10,000 Demon Valley today. However, no matter what, he couldn't let all the strong masters of the Sea Demon King City crawl through that crack. Otherwise, the consequences would be serious. Han Fei read a memory of Qixue Huan and felt the struggle of his soul. Han Fei transmitted telepathically me. "By the way, I forgot to tell you one thing. Back then, I also stayed in the 10,000 Demon Valley. At that time, I used the alias Yufei. Puff, puff, puff. Blood spurted out of Qishuahuan's 7 orifices. He seemed to be angered by Han Fei. However, before Han Fei could show off for long, he immediately felt the void shake. At least 2 parts of the void cracked, and Blue Feather and the other one attacked him at the same time. Humph! The 2 of them joined forces? What a show! Han Fei was about to take action, but Shueishenqi blocked in front of him. Shueishenqi said, "I've fought with Blue Feather too many times. Why don't you try to kill him?" After saying that, Shueishenqi tore through the air and directly slapped a big hand that came from the void. Seeing Blue Feather stabbing at him with a dazzling harpoon, with a thought from Han Fei, Qishuahuan exploded with a bang. Hoo! The terrifying power of Qishuahuan's self-explosion was swallowed by Han Fei. At the same time, the infinity water entangled, and a scimitar array appeared around Han Fei. Chilla! Han Fei ripped open the void and cursed, "Blue Feather, you old turtle, you wanted to kill me before? Today I'm going to cut you into 10 pieces." Humph! Blue Feather also tore open the void, not giving Han Fei a chance to leave. In Blue Feather's view, although things were beyond his expectations, after all, Han Fei hadn't reached the Venerable Realm. Since Han Fei hadn't reached the Venerable Realm, he was definitely no match for him. Besides, no matter what, he couldn't let Han Fei stay here to confront him. Han Fei's growth seemed to be extremely fast. Compared with Shueishenqi, although he didn't know much about this kid, he was definitely not a law-abiding person. As the commander, Shueishenqi had a lot of scruples, but Han Fei wasn't. Blue Feather hadn't fought with Han Fei before, so he didn't know what Han Fei was capable of, but now he had an opportunity to take Han Fei away. In this way, although Shueishenqi's trump card killed the 5 forbidden beasts of the Blood Valley, it didn't really change the outcome of this battle. When Han Fei tore open the void, the Venerables didn't think Han Fei could defeat Blue Feather. Having been in charge of the 10,000 Demon Valley for so many years, how could Blue Feather be weak? At the moment when Han Fei tore open the void and was wrapped in darkness, he shook his head slightly. "I'm afraid that Blue Feather won't survive." Chapter 1393. Although Ningjing hadn't been with Han Fei for a long time, she basically knew what Han Fei had done in the Shuemu Heaven. It could be said that on the first day Han Fei arrived in the Shuemu Heaven, he had already started to make trouble. Later, how many times had she cooperated with Han Fei to put on a show? It could even be said that since Han Fei arrived in the Shuemu Heaven, there were basically no small things. This fellow could single-handedly wreak havoc in the White Bell's capital city. As it turned out, Han Fei didn't intend to fight for 300 rounds. In the void, Han Fei held the embroidery needle and grinned. "Old Blue Feather, do you regret not killing me back then? Today, I'd like to see what you're capable of." Blue Feather snorted coldly. "Human brat, no matter how talented you are, I don't believe your foundation is solid enough to cross 3 realms in just over a decade." Clatter, the Blue Feather harpoon spun, and a water giant rose under it. However, it was different from the water law enforcement ability of ordinary sea demons. Han Fei found that this water giant was actually a bit similar to his own invincible will. In the first confrontation, neither of them talked nonsense. Blue Feather wanted to test Han Fei's strength. The water giant held a giant harpoon and pointed it forward like starlight, setting fire to the void. A cunning glint flashed in Han Fei's eyes. His body suddenly swelled, his muscles bulged, and terrifying energy gathered on his rod, intending to pierce through the water giant with all his strength. Seeing this scene, Blue Feather's pupils constricted. Before the rod's shadow arrived, the void was already trembling. Bam! Ripples overlapped and shook wildly. Blue Feather retreated hundreds of meters, and so did Han Fei. However, at the moment he landed, Han Fei flicked his hand into his sleeve slightly, and spiritual energy surged on his body, hiding a touch of blood. Blue Feather sneered in his heart. Han Fei is indeed extraordinary. His strength has completely entered the venerable realm. However, after all, his realm is still low, and he was still a little injured after taking 80% of my full-strength attack. Do you think I didn't see it? In this way, Blue Feather concluded that although Han Fei was strong, he couldn't kill a venerable across such a large realm. Moreover, judging from the blow just now, Han Fei's attack did not contain the meaning of the Great Way. In other words, the reason why Han Fei was so strong was entirely because of his strength. But even if he was strong, it was enough to explain the problem. This meant that Han Fei's physique had reached the venerable level. Otherwise, how could he use the power of a venerable one? In fact, this power seemed to be slightly stronger than his own. Blue Feather sneered. Han Fei, your strength is just your strength. You don't understand what a true great Tao is. As he spoke, the 3 giant sharks beneath Blue Feather bared their fangs and roared. Their bodies twisted into the shape of water and actually elongated into the body of a giant python. Blue Feather pointed the harpoon in his hand, and a rain of blue light arrows poured out. The waterman roared, grabbed the harpoon with both hands, raised it high, and smashed it down. Nonsense. Seeing Blue Feather's seemingly fierce attacks, Han Fei blurted out, "Bullsh *t." Han Fei said, "I really haven't comprehended the Tao yet. But where is thy road? You mean this waterman? Or this water control technique? Do you think I can't?" The old turtle also said, "You're just a little demon who thinks so highly of himself. The road of the Great Way leads to the same destination. You've just entered the venerable realm, and you're already talking about the Tao. You're really naive." 10,000 knives in one. Han Fei grinned. "You have the ocean arrow stream. Let's see the peak of my infinity water. Let's see which is more powerful, your rain of arrows all over the sky, or my deadly knife strike." With the indestructible golden body, Han Fei ignored the terrifying halberd falling from the sky. He just held the sword with both hands and poured a massive amount of spiritual energy into it. The sword light spurted out hundreds of meters long. Sword drawing technique. Hoo! Rumble with a puff, Blue Feather vomited blood. The giant waterman and the giant halberd were smashed by Han Fei's arrow. Even so, it was still not enough. That sword-drawing technique almost broke the ultra-quality divine weapon in his hand. The power was so great that he was sent flying hundreds of kilometers away. Blue Feather had to admit that Han Fei was strong. At least his strength was unparalleled in the same realm. It was hard to imagine how terrifying Han Fei's strength would be if he was allowed to break through to the venerable realm. It was rumored that there were people who had the physique of a king. Maybe Han Fei had the potential in this regard. The water giant collapsed, and the knife light condensed by Han Fei's infinity water was also terrifying. At this moment, like a sharp spear blade, it seemed to pierce through Blue Feather. Clang! Blue Feather clasped his hands and blocked with his harpoon. 100 meters around him suddenly turned into a ball. The terrifying impact directly blasted the air next to him into a ball of dense light. Blue Feather was a little horrified. However, he still didn't believe that Han Fei could defeat him. Although his hands, mouth, and nose were bleeding, he shouted, "Han Fei, do you really think my Tao is in the shape of water?" Dragon Whale Soul Devour. The 3 sharks that were gradually turning into giant pythons suddenly melted and turned into 3 huge mouths. In Han Fei's eyes, information emerged. Name: 3-headed dragon whale. Mutated. Introduction: a mutated 3-headed dragon whale. This creature was originally a companion spirit, but because it was swallowed and possessed by the host, it merged with the host and became the host's incarnation, even deriving Tao. There was a soul-scattering storm in the body of the dragon whale. If one's soul was not strong enough, it would be difficult for him not to be affected. Level 80 quality? Contains spiritual energy, 354413 effect, inedible collectible non-absorbable, remarks, a weird deformed creature. Its original spirit was swallowed by the host. When he saw this information, Han Fei felt that these strong masters were simply too abnormal. In order to become stronger, they would do anything. It even swallowed its own companion's spirit. Was this what a king human being would do? Oh no, sea demons were not human beings. Although it was said in history that sea demons were transformed from human beings, that was only in the beginning. Later, after countless generations of reproduction, it was said that the Sea King had transformed into the Great Way of Heaven. Sea creatures were able to transform, so the sea monsters that came later would most likely have lost their human bloodline. Although Blue Feather's means were abnormal, Han Fei didn't doubt his strength. However, Han Fei didn't think that this incarnation of Blue Feather could really deal with him. Even if this incarnation was his Tao who, the three big mouths directly swallowed the entire space where Han Fei was, which horrified the other venerables. Even Shueishenqi's heart skipped a beat. He had fought with Blue Feather many times, but he had never seen the three-headed shark under Blue Feather have such an ability. Ha ha ha. Blue Feather, I didn't expect you to have some trump cards. If it weren't for the mutation of this three-headed shark today, I'm afraid we would also think that this is just an ordinary shark. A sea demon venerable laughed. While fighting with Chu Qing, that person observed this side. However, the battle between the two seemed fierce, but in fact it was just a perfunctory fight. There wasn't even a wound on the middle-level venerable's body. On the other side, there was a sea demon venerable fighting against two venerables. They were all middle-level venerables, and they were even suppressing Yang Kuan and Yi Kai. In the end, Sun Baixing and a beginner sea demon venerable seemed to be fighting fiercely and even badly mutilated. However, there was not a single fatal wound. The fiercest one was none other than Shueishenqi. His broad-edged long knife floated in front of him. With a casual slash, he could cut out tens of thousands of knife shadows. The knife-intent soared into the sky, stretching for hundreds of kilometers. However, in the first battle, Shueishenqi actually traded blows with the opponent. With one slash, Shueishenqi's body was cut in half, and his lower body exploded. And the opponent, a beginner venerable, was directly cut into pieces. Half of his body exploded, but Shueishenqi didn't even scream. He turned his hand and energy returned, and his body reassembled. And the opponent was also reassembling his body. At this moment, Han Fei was swallowed, which attracted his attention. As soon as Han Fei was swallowed, he felt a sticky and extremely strange suction force, which seemed to want to invade his soul. Han Fei tried to summon the infinity water back. However, this space cut off the connection between him and the infinity water. When Han Fei was about to merge the infinity water into one, he heard Blue Feather shout, "Once you enter my mouth, you'll never survive. No matter how powerful you are, you'll still die." Chilla, Blue Feather took the opportunity to tear open the void and shouted, "Do it!" Hum. At that moment, the sea demon venerable suddenly arrived in the twisted jungle, the ancient battlefield, and other places. Even on the ancient battlefield, two venerables appeared, forcing the six-sword ancestor to go to sea. Behind Elder Bingyun was the Scattered Stars Island. When the sea demon venerable's aura arrived, she looked in the direction of the Sea of Pearls and thought to herself, the battle between the venerables must not break out on the Scattered Stars Island. My opponent is here, so I have to kill him. At that moment, everyone was shocked. The sea demons still had a backup plan. Everyone was shocked. Was the battle in the Sea of Pearls not enough? Did the sea demons want to take down the Scattered Stars Island? Shueishenqi immediately heard Han Fei's anxious voice. "Have you been lured out?" Hearing it was Han Fei, Shueishenqi responded, "Don't worry." Han Fei naturally knew that Shueishenqi was reliable. Hearing Han Fei's words, he was really relieved. As for Blue Feather, with a thought, the three-headed dragon whale shrank rapidly and turned into a three-headed shark again. In Blue Feather's view, Han Fei was bound to die. It was just a matter of how long he could hold on. Huh! Suddenly, Blue Feather felt that something wasn't right. Why were there a few drops of water hanging on his body? On second thought, it seemed that something had invaded his demonic heritage. He immediately looked inside himself. At this moment, Blue Feather's soul suddenly trembled, and there seemed to be a horror behind him. Shweshenchi tried to protect himself, but he heard a voice exploding in his ears. This place is forbidden. Oh! Hundreds of beasts ran rampant, their hooves stepping on the void. Han Fei seemed to suddenly appear, holding an embroidery needle and stabbing it into the sky, shouting, "Knock on the heavenly gate!" Bam! A layer of scales on Blue Feather's body rose up, and a big hole was directly pierced through his back, and he was blasted straight into the sky. Below, many sea demons, sea spirits, hidden fishers, and law enforcers were all dumbfounded. What is this? Blue Feather was about to condense his power, but it collapsed in an instant and couldn't be used here. Han Fei grinned and said, "Explode." Rumble! The infinity water exploded in Blue Feather's body. In an instant, Blue Feather was blown to pieces. Han Fei shouted in his heart, "Old Turtle, come with me. Let's kill him." Ho! Swoosh! Han Fei opened his mouth and swallowed, and half of the terrifying power was absorbed by Han Fei. At the same time, a black mist descended, directly covering half of the sky. Not to mention that Han Fei had blocked this place. Even if this place was intact, the old turtle wouldn't give the other party a chance. Gotcha! In the sky, thunder suddenly rumbled, and a red crack spanned thousands of kilometers. In an instant, a rain of blood poured down. Blue Feather died. An era ended here. Chapter 1394. During the battle on the Sea of Pearls. On the Scattered Stars Island, under the Empyrean waterfall, next to the deep pool, two men stood quietly on a big rock. One of them had a harpoon mark between his eyebrows. He was a peak-level venerable of the Sea Clan. The other one was holding a fan in one hand and a fishing rod in the other. He looked gentle. Who else could it be but Han Guanshu? But at this moment, neither of them revealed their cultivation. They were like two passers-by watching the water beside a rock. The Sea Demon Venerable said, I underestimated the human race. With such a strong master like you, no wonder this island with only a few million people dares to fight against our army. Han Guanshu smiled and said, Sea demons are tyrannical, and everyone has the right to kill them. If the human race is united, we can defeat them. The Sea Demon Venerable sneered. You and I both know that at this level, strength is the key. Is the significance of a race that great? Han Guanshu said, Yes, it is. Now that you've sent so many people away, are you going to fight? The Sea Demon Venerable gazed at Han Guanshu for a long time and finally said, The Sea Clan will not let go of the corpse of the giant deep-sea demon. Give it to us, and human beings will be safe for the next 1,000 years. But if you don't give it to us, we'll have to fight sooner or later. Han Guanshu smiled and said, Let's fight then. Don't talk nonsense about being safe for 1,000 years. Who will be the winner in this battle? We don't know yet. Boom! Thunder rumbled in the sky, and the Venerable died. A rain of blood fell. Voila! Han Guanshu retracted his rod, and a red blood butterfly fish was hanging on it. He said, See, I told you that we could fight. Humph! The Sea of Pearls. What happened? Suddenly, many Sea Demon Venerables were shocked. How did Han Fei come out? In their eyes, Han Fei had been swallowed by the 3 dragon whales. Although they didn't know the power of Blue Feather, the 3 dragon whales didn't give Han Fei a chance to react when they pounced on him. Even if Han Fei could come out, he would at least be a bit embarrassed. However, Han Fei just appeared out of nowhere and killed Blue Feather right in front of their eyes. Space sealing technique? This child has comprehended the great Tao of space. Even Blue Feather had fallen. How could they not understand? However, what surprised them even more was that Han Fei was only a peak-level explorer. Even if the great Tao could be used, how could it seal a true supremacy? Chu Qing and the others were horrified. How many days had it been? Han Fei killed another one? Even if his opponent was a beginner martial highness, he couldn't be easily dealt with. Even Chu Qing and Yi Kai, who were mid-level venerables, dared not say that they could kill Bluefeather. Because everyone at the Exalt realm possessed their own abilities. As long as these methods could still be used, the possibility of being killed was not high. However, Han Fei had sealed the heavens and locked the earth, making it impossible for others to use any dharma, which greatly increased the probability of death. If he was sneak attacked by Han Fei, the consequences could be imagined. At this moment, Han Fei was standing proudly in the sky, his body glowing with golden light, his invincible will condensed into a giant, and he shouted loudly, "Sea demons have created chaos in the sea." Today, the sea demon venerable, Bluefeather, once led his henchmen, the 8 wings of Bluefeather, to do evil, scourge the human race for many years, and plot against the immortal foundation of the human race. I, Han Fei, will kill you as a sacrifice to the people. Han Fei's voice echoed in the sky one after another, rippling into the distance. At this point, Shueishenqi looked a little relieved. Originally, he just wanted Han Fei to have a try, but he didn't expect that Han Fei would actually kill Bluefeather at this moment. Above the sea, the tens of thousands of human soldiers, hearing Han Fei's announcement, felt their blood boiling. "Ho! Han Fei is mighty. Little fishes, do you see that? The human powerhouses will kill their venerables as a sacrifice to the heavens. Your doomsday has come. Kill. How can a mere sea demon defeat the immortal human race?" A girl shouted, "Han Fei, I want to date you." A boy roared at the sky, "Captain Han, the scouts are proud of you." Juin Ling looked up, her eyes full of admiration, and she murmured, "So, this is the man I like?" Taking advantage of the enemy's distraction, He Xiaoyu pierced the heart of a half-mermaid with a dagger, then glanced at the sky, her heart trembling. He killed a venerable again. He Xiaoyu didn't know what a venerable was at all. However, looking at the sky full of blood and the terrifying movement when Bluefeather was blasted into the sky just now, she knew that it was not something that the so-called hidden fishers and law enforcers could match at all. Granny Yin shouted, "Stupid cat, come back!" Meow. Big Yellow was also stunned. A supremacy had fallen just like that? Had Han Fei become so terrifying now? Han Fei scanned with his perception and found that the morale of the human soldiers was greatly boosted. Fighting for the army, the morale of the human soldiers was high. At this moment, the human morale was at its peak. Han Fei took a step forward and shouted, "The human race is never afraid of war." Today, more than 100,000 sea demons have wreaked havoc in the human territory. They must be killed. Swish. Seeing Han Fei break through the void with one step, a Tao-seeking state demon in the outside world who had not fallen into the void was also panic-stricken when he saw Han Fei suddenly appear. He immediately wanted to escape with his blood. However, Han Fei certainly wouldn't give him this opportunity. Bam! A sacrificing punch was pushed out, and a thick fist light 100 meters thick swept hundreds of kilometers, blasting a trail of fire in the sky. And the Tao-seeking state demon had already been turned into ashes by this punch. Swish! Swish! Han Fei crossed 100 kilometers with one step, and thousands of knives were like dragons, killing enemies within 1,000 kilometers. Or sword light pierced through the sky, and a silver sword light illuminated the sky, killing people. Han Fei was so powerful that 5 Tao-seeking state demons were killed in just 2 minutes. Han Fei was so fast that these Tao-seeking state demons didn't even have a chance to dodge and were directly killed by his knife. Ho! Suddenly, the sky cracked, and the venerable who was fighting with Sun Baixing shouted in a low voice, "Be **starred, how dare you attack ordinary Tao-seeking state demons as a venerable?" As he spoke, the venerable stabbed a human explorer with a harpoon, as if warning Han Fei. Lu Lang was only a junior explorer. While commanding the battlefield, he suddenly felt a fatal crisis. He looked up, only to see a flash of silver light stabbing at him. He couldn't retreat. Once he retreated, this terrifying blow would kill at least hundreds of people. At that time, there was only one thought in Lu Lang's mind. Son of AB***, I'm doomed. Suddenly, the void twisted, and a figure suddenly appeared 100 meters in front of him. Who else could it be but Han Fei? Han Fei stretched out one hand and grabbed the dazzling light with his big hand. As Han Fei's big hand turned, this terrifying blow was easily crushed. Han Fei's eyes were cold. **T. I'm just an explorer. So what if I attack an explorer? You're a venerable. How dare you attack a human explorer? Who gave you the courage to do that? The man shouted in a low voice, Humph. Last time, it was you and the other humans who broke the rules. Who broke the rules first today? Do you need me to tell you? Since we've already fallen out, let's do it again. You want to compete with the Sea Clan in numbers? All Tao-seeking state demons, listen to my order. Attack without limit. The Sea Demon Venerable pushed out one hand, and a long-distance teleportation array suddenly appeared in midair. Shueishenqi shouted, Sun Baixing, what are you doing? In the blink of an eye, the Sea Demon Venerable's teleportation array had already been opened. Only then did Sun Baixing arrive. He shouted, This demon's strength is very strong. I was careless for a moment and let him get away with it. Knock on the heavenly gate. Han Fei held the embroidery needle, pushed it horizontally, and smashed it at the Sea Demon Venerable. Swish. Before Han Fei's figure appeared, he heard many voices saying, Light is waiting. In the camp of the Empyrean waterfall, someone suddenly exclaimed, F***CK. Isn't that Little Nine's heavenly sound technique? Han Fei knows it too? Granny Yin shook her head. No, it seems different. Han Fei seems to have more melodies. Seeing this scene, the corners of Juyin Ling's mouth curled up slightly. No one knew better than her that Han Fei had the real 9 sounds, which was in the sea-quelling painting. At the exit of the teleportation array, the 9 sounds great Tao descended. As soon as a Tao-seeking state demon appeared, it suddenly fell into a frenzy. With a thought from Han Fei, the illusion of mountains and rivers appeared. Han Fei shouted, Guard the entrance with the punishing saber. Punishment saber guards the pass. Kill whoever comes. Water luster seals the sea. There are no rules. Fire seed, tree spirit, earth 9, help the humans. Then, Han Fei looked at the void and shouted, Sun Baixing, hold this person back. If he gets rid of you again, just wait and see. Sun Baixing's heart froze. Han Fei was ordering him around. But if he refuted Han Fei now, he might really be scolded to death. Han Fei needed very little time. Except for the 5 forbidden beasts of the Blood Valley, he had just killed 5 more. At this moment, there were only 7 Tao-seeking state demons outside. These 7 were all held back by the human explorers. However, these Tao-seeking state demons only bombarded places with densely populated people. The human explorers could only defend passively. The enemies didn't fight head-on at all, which made the human explorers helpless, right? In just a few seconds, hundreds of people were directly crushed in the aftermath of the battle. However, these Tao-seeking state demons never expected that Han Fei would get rid of the battle so quickly. How could they? Han Fei could kill a venerable. At this moment, if there was no one to hold him back, what should these Tao-seeking state demons do? Bam! Han Fei blew up a Tao-seeking state demon with a punch and was about to continue. Suddenly, his fingers twitched. He pinched his fingers and felt a great danger approaching. Immediately, Han Fei twisted his body and retreated hundreds of kilometers. The next moment, a half-mermaid powerhouse with a terrifying aura arrived in an instant. A dazzling light pierced right in the direction where Han Fei was just now. The old turtle said, A peak-level venerable. Han Fei was horrified. With a thought, a token appeared on his waist. What was it if not Jing Er's venerable token? The meaning was very clear. If this person dared to attack, Peaceful could do it. This move was naturally seen by that person. The half-mermaid Venerable frowned slightly. He had always felt that something was wrong. After seeing him, Han Fei was only prepared to retreat at any time, but he wasn't afraid? Just when he was thinking about whether he should attack casually to test Han Fei's strength, a peak-level Venerable aura suddenly descended. He was shocked. Is it the one on the island? Jing slightly revealed a trace of the aura of a peak-level Venerable, and the man immediately knew that something was wrong. The power of the Scattered Stars Island was beyond his imagination. He couldn't fight this battle anymore. The man shouted, "Retreat!" At the moment when this person shouted, Han Fei roared, "You want to retreat now? Don't you think it's too late?" And the man glanced at the teleportation array, and Han Fei's eyelids twitched. "Punishing Saber, come back!" The half-mermaid Venerable roared, "It's not too late to fight in the future." Han Fei clenched his fists, but the old turtle said, "It's right. The Star Turtle hasn't made a breakthrough yet. It's not time for you to fight." Han Fei said via voice transmission, "Stop the battle. This person is a peak-level Venerable." Chapter 1395. Shueishenqi was greatly alarmed. There was indeed a top expert on the sea demon's side. Apart from Han Guanshu, the person behind Han Fei must be the reason why the expert didn't take action. If the top combat power was also involved, then with the addition of Han Fei, who had the combat power of the Venerable realm, the balance of victory in this battle would inevitably tilt to the human side. Therefore, it was not a good time to fight now. Shueishenqi wouldn't have asked so many people to fight in the Sea of Pearls if he had a choice. Even if they wanted to fight, this wasn't the right time. Shueishenqi roared, "Stop fighting! Everybody gather!" Swish, swish, swish. People left the battlefield one after another. Many of them were already prepared to die for this trip. Seeing that the battle was over, they knew that their side seemed to have won in terms of experts. They were all relieved. However, when they turned around, they found that countless comrades had been killed or wounded in the battle that lasted only a few hours. In the middle of the sea, broken bodies were scattered, which was quite a shocking sight. In the place where human beings died, except for a few who didn't have time to explode themselves, all the others had already exploded. Although there were no broken bodies, blood was rising from the sea. How much blood was flowing in it? Both sides retreated to the Pearl Divers port. After counting, more than 23,000 people were killed in the battle, and almost all the rest were wounded. At this moment, the spirit gatherers were the busiest. Almost all the spirit gatherers on the Scattered Stars Island could learn healing techniques for free. So, healing radiance descended one after another in the crowd of less than 40,000 people. In the sky, Han Fei recalled the Punishing Saber and the others and stood with Shueishenqi. The two of them looked at each other and didn't say anything. This was not a suitable place for talking. Han Fei said, "I'll treat everybody's wounds." Okay. Hardly had Han Fei left when the void was torn apart, and Chu Qing and the other Venerables appeared. They nodded and left with Shueishenqi. They all belonged to different groups and knew that there was no need to get involved in the battlefield at this moment. They might as well observe from afar. Han Fei stepped on the surface of the sea, and humming sounds could be heard. It was the sound of arrays being set up again and again. Because the speed was too fast, the spirit-gathering formation blossomed like water splashes on the raging sea. Swish. In the crowd, many people were dumbfounded and looked nervously at Han Fei, who suddenly appeared between them. Han Fei raised his hand slightly, and the healing divine light condensed into chains and scattered in the crowd in an instant. Someone's arm was broken and stored in his sea-swallowing seashell. At this moment, he was holding his arm and asking a spirit gatherer to treat him. All of a sudden, a white radiance leaped over. ZZ. Flesh and blood regenerated and bones healed. The wound on his arm was healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Someone's intestines were punctured and his body was protected by a spiritual energy protective cover. Next to him, there were spirit gatherers trying to save him. However, how could the healing technique of ordinary spirit gatherers heal so quickly? As a result, the spirit gatherer needed to constantly replenish spiritual energy for that person. Someone shouted, "Swallow the spiritual fruit, you can still hold on for a while." Lying on the boat, the wounded man struggled to say, "I can't do it anymore. One spiritual fruit can't last me for more than 10 minutes. It would take at least an hour for my wounds to heal. How many spirit fruits would that take? Forget it, I give up." A teammate roared, F*CKU. "Do you think we lack those spiritual fruits?" Immediately, someone shouted, "Who has spiritual fruits? Come and save him." However, as soon as this person spoke, a ray of white light shot straight at him. The man on the boat was bathed in the chains of holy light, and more than 100 wounds, large and small, were healing rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye. That thing was fast. Whoosh whoosh. The slash wound that was the length of a palm healed in 3 breaths. His shattered chest was completely healed in less than 2 seconds. Hiss! The spirit gatherer who treated this person was dumbfounded. He wanted to ask who was coming. The next moment, a spirit gathering formation appeared beneath his feet and spread out. Following that, a young man dressed in an ordinary black robe walked toward them. Han Fei? The heavily injured guy actually sat up straight with a whoosh. Then, he lowered his head to take a look, and he was dumbfounded. Under the gaze of the people around him, Han Fei nodded. Although soul warriors fight at the forefront and suffer the most injuries, they should act according to their own strength. There's more than one soul warrior in a team. With that, before these people could react, Han Fei lifted his foot and disappeared from their perception. Hiss! The person who was saved immediately exclaimed, "Son of AB*TSH, is that Han Fei? Isn't he too fast?" The spirit gatherer looked at the spirit gathering formation under his feet and was speechless. What kind of speed is this? This treatment method was simply miraculous. Your life was saved with just a lift of his hand. The man chuckled. Damn it, I'm impressed by Han Fei. If I have a chance in the future, I'll pay him back. Han Fei walked step by step. Suddenly, he heard a familiar voice transmission. Han Fei, Xiaoyu is injured. Jiuyin? Han Fei knew that Jiuyin was waiting for him on the Scattered Stars Island, but he had more important things to do than to see her. Besides, what could he do even if he saw her? However, hearing Jiuyin call, Han Fei twisted his body and disappeared. At this moment, Xiaoyu was pulling Jiuyin, her face pale. She squeezed so hard that even Jiuyin, a peak-level law enforcer, felt a little pain. Next to her, Xiaoyu's original team members who had been separated gathered after the battle. Someone said, "Captain, don't panic. You're already a peak-level hidden fisher. Master Venerable will definitely save you." A manipulator hugged Xiaoyu's shoulder. "Yes, Captain, after this battle, you'll almost achieve your goal of killing 1,000 people. The Venerable won't sit by and do nothing about it." Jiuyin quickly comforted her. "Xiaoyu, don't panic. As long as you're a spirit gatherer in the Venerable realm, you can regenerate severed limbs. I've already called Han Fei over. He should be here soon." "No." Hearing Jiuyin words, Xiaoyu immediately activated a spiritual energy protective cover and wanted to jump out. However, as soon as Xiaoyu flew up, an invisible force pressed down on her. A very familiar but no longer immature voice sounded in her ears. "If you're injured, don't move. Will I eat you or what?" Han Fei stepped over and the holy light technique descended. The wounds on Xiaoyu's body quickly healed. Han Fei saw that Xiaoyu's legs were completely cut off from the middle of her thighs. At this moment, her hair was in a mess. The girl was still trying to cover herself with her hair. Han Fei frowned slightly. "Where are her legs?" Han Fei looked at Xiaoyu's teammates, who were old and new. At this moment, when they saw Han Fei, they were stunned. An armorist hurriedly said, "Master Han Fei, the captain's legs were bitten off by the companion spirit of a sea spirit state expert, so they couldn't survive." "Okay." Han Fei nodded lightly and put a hand on He Xiaoyu's shoulder. Han Fei exclaimed in surprise. He Xiaoyu had too many injuries in her body to the extent that her foundation was damaged. At this moment, the old turtle's voice sounded, "Woo! It's just a severed body. There's no need to use the apocalyptic divine technique." Han Fei thought of something. "You make it sound so easy. Why don't I know?" The old turtle said, "Think about it. How long has it been since you last practiced the spirit gathering art? How can you learn it if you don't? Every path is accompanied by various techniques in the process of learning. Why don't you go and learn it?" Han Fei thought of something. Right, how long has it been since he last learned the spirit gathering art? Back then, old Jiang left him the spirit gathering scripture. But that was an array book, and it didn't focus on healing. Now, Han Fei knew that this old guy was an array master, but he didn't seem to know much about healing. However, it made sense. Healing was easy to learn, but the further one went, the more difficult it would be. For example, the Holy Light technique, the Holy Light chain, and the apocalyptic divine technique were beyond the scope of normal healing technique. Quickly healing He Xiaoyu's wounds, Han Fei wanted to say something. However, so many people around looked at him strangely that he held back his words. Han Fei looked at Juin Ling and asked, "Are you still living in the Empyrean waterfall?" Juin Ling nodded obediently. "Yes." Han Fei said, "He Xiaoyu, wait for me at the Empyrean waterfall with Juin Ling. After today's matter is over, I'll go and fix up your legs." He Xiaoyu's body shivered slightly, and a sound came from under her hair. "Okay." Seeing He Xiaoyu's reaction, Han Fei couldn't help but sigh and said, "Then I'll go first." Han Fei was about to leave, when he heard Juin Ling say, "Will you come back at night?" Han Fei paused. "Well, yes." Han Fei stepped out and disappeared from their sight, and the holy light chain radiated for 1,000 meters. Soon, Han Fei had basically cured all the people on the battlefield. Yoi healing was terrifying, and it was terrifying. Even Shueishenqi was wondering if he should mention it to Han Fei and spread this technique to other people. Seeing that Han Fei was almost done, Shueishenqi slightly took a breath in the sky. "I'm very sad that the Scattered Stars Island won this battle. I, Shueishenqi, have been in charge of the Scattered Stars Island for exactly 50 years. Now, there are many talents on the Scattered Stars Island. Han Fei from the 36 towns is talented and tough. Recently, he killed 2 lords in a row and shocked the world." Han Fei didn't feel good when he heard Shueishenqi's words. "Is Shueishenqi going to pass the throne to me?" Before Han Fei said anything, the old turtle said, "This man is not bad. At this time, you need people's support. It's not easy to become a king, and you need to experience too much. Blood sacrificed to the sea, bones devour souls, and all the people strive for the right path. These are all things that you may experience, and maybe every king will experience." Han Fei grinned and didn't speak. He thought to himself, forget it. Haven't I known about this many years ago? When I went to the 1,000-star city, when Shueishenqi gave me the 9-star token, although he didn't say it explicitly, I have a tacit understanding. That was just Shueishenqi's test for me. Now, after the battle, it was indeed a good time to announce it. Shueishenqi finally said, "From today on, Han Fei from the 36 towns will inherit the position of the Supreme Commander of the Scattered Stars Island. This matter will be announced to the entire Scattered Stars Island today. Within 7 days, the 36 towns and the 1,000-star city." Chapter 1396. Wow! As soon as Shueishenqi said this, the audience was in an uproar. The position of the Supreme Commander was changed, just like that? In the big families, Chu Qing, Yi Kai, Sun Baixing, and Yang Kuan were all livid at this moment. Although they had a hunch that Xuexianqi would pass on the throne, they never expected that he would choose this time. But they never expected that he would choose this time. Damn it! Chu Qin cursed. Xuexianqi has chosen a side. He's actually siding with that brat Han Fei. Yi Kai's eyes were cold. Xuexianqi has sacrificed a lot by letting Han Fei succeed at this time. At least in the eyes of others, it's a disgrace for him to resign at this time. Those who don't know will think that he can't bear the responsibility of the survival of the Scattered Stars Island and is afraid to fight. Sun Baixing took a breath. It's a big taboo to change the commander at the last moment. But Xuexianqi did this. He really dares to do so. Chu Qing snorted coldly. So, Xuexianqi chose a good time. I realized that Han Fei's name was often heard in the carnival shops. In the refining hall, Han Fei's books were sold for free. Fei Yinmu's furnace was demonstrated in the street. Xuexianqi had long planned to make Han Fei famous on the Scattered Stars Island. Today, Han Fei slaughtered the Venerable in front of everyone. For a period of time, there is no one else in the limelight. What better time to pass on the throne than now? The people from the big families looked very gloomy at this moment. In fact, if it were someone else, they wouldn't mind succeeding the throne. But this person was Han Fei from the Thug Academy. His father was Han Guanshu, who had a big grudge against the big families. Once Han Fei became the supreme commander of the Scattered Stars Island, once the people of the Scattered Stars Island surrendered to him, he would be a lord. His personal power, to some extent, was even above that of the big families. How many people could a big family control? How many people could the supreme commander of the Scattered Stars Island control? Even if one used their buttocks to think, they would be able to figure out the disparity between them. In addition to the number of people and economy, the special location of the Scattered Stars Island was closely related to the 1,000-star city and the 36 towns. In the past, Xuexianqi had always turned a blind eye to the resource supply of the Scattered Stars Island. In fact, most of the resources that flowed to the 1,000-star city ended up in the hands of the big clans. But after Han Fei succeeded the throne, how could he let the big families get what they wanted? Chu Qing shouted in a low voice, "Inform the clan, we're in big trouble this time. If Han Fei inherits the position of the highest commander of the Scattered Stars Island, it will be too troublesome." Unlike Chu Qing and the others, the mentality of the frontline warriors was different. In the eyes of these people, the enemy was right there. Whoever killed the most would be the one they would admire. I'll admire whoever is fierce enough. I will respect whoever contributes the most and pays the most. Xuexianqi's position was unshakable. Managing the Scattered Stars Island, he had stood on the vast sea for many years and had made great achievements. Han Fei's most famous event was the creation of the Fei Yinmu stove. Who didn't know the name of Han Fei for those who minored in refining? Even those who went to the refining hall to forge semi-divine weapons all knew Han Fei's name. Besides, intentionally or not, the rumors about Han Fei had never stopped in the past few years. He would always unknowingly hear someone mention it, and in the past 2 days, the rumor that Han Fei had killed a venerable had spread like wildfire, and almost everyone knew it. Today, Han Fei really killed a venerable. Besides, he appeared in the Sea of Pearls and killed Bluefeather, the commander of the Sea Clan. Slaughtering those seeking the Tao was like slaughtering fish. It was something that could be done with a wave of the hand, and it had almost reached the terrifying state of slaughtering a person with a single step. It could be said that Han Fei's sudden arrival shocked the morale of the army with his powerful means. Of course, this might not be enough. As the highest commander, Han Fei's current position seemed a bit too simple. Compared with the previous commanders, Han Fei didn't seem to have any heroic history. There were only rumors that could be heard everywhere he went. But Xuexianqi had spoken, and these people had all seen Han Fei's power. In the end, the scene where Han Fei healed everyone under the holy light chains was even more shocking than when Han Fei killed a venerable. After all, killing a venerable was too far away for ordinary people. At most, they could only see blue feather being blasted away, cracks in the sky, and a rain of blood pouring down. In any case, at least these people in front of him accepted it. After all, Han Fei was good at fighting. In just 10 days, he killed 2 venerables. This was King unheard of before. Off the field, Juan Ling looked indifferent and didn't have any special feelings about this. She even felt that this was a matter of course. He Xiaoyu, on the other hand, mumbled, "Supreme Commander?" Shueishenqi said, "Say a few words. When you return to the Scattered Stars Island, prepare to take over. You need to meet some important personnel of the entire Scattered Stars Island." Han Fei didn't refuse. In a few steps, he stepped into the sky and stood in front of everyone. As if feeling that he was a little too small, Han Fei's body overflowed with golden light, and an invincible phantom condensed, and a golden giant more than 20 meters tall stood in the air. Han Fei's voice was clear and resounded. "Everyone, I'm Han Fei. I don't think you are very familiar with me, because I haven't been fighting here all these years. However, in the Great War, when human beings are on the brink of life and death, although I am not here, I have been thinking about how to kill the sea demons and protect the human race." The corners of Han Fei's mouth curled up, and he shouted, "From the moment you entered the island to today, you should be familiar with the way the Scattered Stars Island deals with the enemy. It's really exhausting to be in charge of a place. Today, I, Han Fei, take the position of the Supreme Commander. I dare not say that I can definitely eliminate the sea demons, but at least I will lead you to fight a way out. From today on, I will live and die with you." In the end, Han Fei's voice rumbled like thunder, stirring up everyone's heart. As an explorer and law enforcer, they naturally had a good understanding of the situation and the appointment of the central city. Shueishenqi must have made such a big decision with the survival of the people on the island at stake. They had no choice but to obey such a decision. Immediately, 12 explorers walked out of the void in a row. The leader shouted, "Greetings, General Han. I'm willing to live and die with General Han." Hundreds of law enforcers responded, "Greetings, General Han. I'm willing to live and die with General Han." Then, they raised their arms and shouted, "Greetings, General Han. I'm willing to live and die with General Han." Han Fei raised his head slightly, glanced at the void in the oblique direction, and shouted, "The Scattered Stars Island already has General Han, so I don't dare to use his name. I'll use the word Han, to remind you that I can't disappoint you. Okay, today's battle is over. Clean up the battlefield and go back to the island to rest." There would naturally be someone who would lead the troop. About 10 minutes later, on a fishing boat on the sea tens of thousands of kilometers away. When Han Fei came, he saw that old Han had been waiting for a long time with tea. Shueishenqi took a seat casually and drank the tea. Han Guanshu smiled slightly. "I don't like drinking so much." Shueishenqi had been expressionless for a long time. At this moment, there are many challenges for Han Fei to inherit the throne. But if there's anything I can't do, I still won't give up. Han Fei also landed on the boat, glanced at the 4 cups on the bluestone suspended in midair, and smiled casually. "Of course, my ambition is not to stay on the Scattered Stars Island. After this chaos is settled, the Scattered Stars Island will belong to you." Shueishenqi scoffed. "Settle the chaos? If it can be easily settled, why wait until now?" Han Fei looked at Han Guanshu and asked, "What if there's an extra cup?" Han Guanshu tilted his head and looked at the void. "Peaceful, long time no see. Come down and have a drink." "Ah, it's really you? You seem to be much stronger than the last time I saw you." As he spoke, a beautiful figure walked thousands of kilometers in one step, stood directly on the deck, smiled gently, and sat directly opposite Han Fei. Seeing Peaceful, Shueishenqi was a little stunned. How can there be such a beautiful woman in the world? However, Shueishenqi was far calmer than Han Fei. When Han Fei first came to the Shuemu heaven, every woman he saw was enchanting, and every man he saw was comparable to Zhang Xuanyu. Han Guanshu pushed a cup of tea to Peaceful and said lightly, "Did Han Fei cause any trouble to your place on this trip?" Peaceful did not look like a lady, especially since she knew two of the people there. She immediately said, "It's not just trouble. He almost turned our place upside down." "Do you know how many times he caused trouble? In all my years, I've never seen anyone who can cause more trouble than him." "Wang Zhan?" Shueishenqi's eyes suddenly lit up. Peaceful mentioned Wang Zhan, which meant that there were indeed kings in the place where Han Fei went. In this case, Han Guanshu didn't lie. The other side of the channel should not be set foot on easily. Peaceful pursed her lip. "Did I say that? Forget it, I've already said it, it's no big deal. However, your battles are really frequent. Could it be that in this world there is only the human clan? It's so tiring to fight on the sea with the power of one race." Han Guanshu took a sip of tea and said, "The situation of each side is different, so you can't generalize it. Although you're here, I want to tell you not to take action before I take action." Peaceful said impatiently, I know. Her Majesty has already told me." "Her Majesty?" Shueishenqi wondered. "The king over there is actually a woman?" However, Shueishenqi didn't ask but looked at Han Guanshu, his eyes straight. Han Guanshu seemed to know what Shueishenqi meant and said with a smile, "Your eyes are on the Scattered Stars Island, but Han Fei's ambition is not here. The Scattered Stars Island is just a training for me." Clap, clap. Han Fei patted the table. Hey. Old Han, let's talk. Don't treat me as a machine that needs to be sharpened. Can't I sharpen my skills myself? Do I need you to do it?" Han Guanshu smiled. "I haven't schemed against you for a long time. Because from the day you came to the Scattered Stars Island, everything has been developing naturally. As a father, at most, I will occasionally stir up one or two things in the process of development. I have never regarded you as a chess piece. From the beginning to the end, you are the general trend in this chessboard." Shueishenqi said, "The general trend is like a great bell, sharp as a dragon." "What a general trend!" Chapter 1397. At the Empyrean Waterfall, not far from Juin Ling's house, there was another hut next to Juin Ling and Han Fei's house. Because Han Fei asked He Xiaoyu to wait at the Empyrean Waterfall, and now that Han Fei had become a marshal, Juin Ling built a house for He Xiaoyu after she returned. Juin Ling didn't have many friends in the first place. Therefore, it would be great if He Xiaoyu could live at the Empyrean Waterfall for a while. At least she would have someone to accompany her. At this moment, in He Xiaoyu's yard, the members of He Xiaoyu's team were chatting non-stop. In the corner, there was a big cat squatting next to the barbecue grill. A manipulator remarked, "I was wondering why the captain went to the Empyrean Waterfall for no reason. So, he said that he was here for Sister Juin, but what is he actually here for? I don't know." The armorist was grilling the barbecue with a smile. "Also, the captain likes barbecue very much." I was puzzled. What is this barbecue? How does our captain know how to make such a magical taste? Now that Big Yellow mentioned it, it turns out that it's also General Han's doing. He Xiaoyu, on the other hand, was rather nervous and said coldly, "You guys, don't talk nonsense for no reason. The regiment is so busy. Why aren't you staying in the regiment? What are you doing here?" The female hunter smiled playfully. "Isn't this all thanks to you, Captain? Otherwise, we wouldn't have the luck to come to the Empyrean Waterfall to have barbecue when the island is on the highest alert. Now, the whole island is talking about General Han. There are all kinds of rumors." The armorist said, "General Han is so fierce. He killed a venerable with 3 punches. He killed a Dao-seeking level demon with 1 slash and 2 with 1 punch. Otherwise, they would have been shocked if they hadn't seen General Han in action." He Xiaoyu was speechless. Since when did he kill a venerable with 3 punches and 2 Dao-seeking level demons with 1 punch? Who was the one who spread this? The manipulator grinned. "No matter what other people think, We're on General Han's side anyway. By the way, Captain, are you really from the same hometown as General Han? Big Yellow said. What do you mean by that? It was so unpleasant to hear. Han Fei sounded very nice. When will Han Fei come? This cat brought him shark fins. You armorist, don't burn my fish wings. At this moment, Jiuyin Ling walked over with a basket in her hand that contained some seasonings for the hot pot. Xiaoyu was lost for words. Why are you making trouble too? My leg is broken, and you brought so many seasonings. Are you going to eat hot pot? Jiuyin Ling smiled. Doesn't he like hot pot? Xiaoyu's teammates looked at each other and thought to themselves, their relationship is a bit messy. He felt that Jiuyin Ling and Han Fei seemed to be closer than their captain. Xiaoyu naturally knew Jiuyin Ling's personality. Whenever Han Fei was mentioned, Jiuyin Ling wouldn't hide it at all. Xiaoyu suddenly roared, Why are you on the Sea of Pearls? I've already been assigned to a new team, yet I'm still able to meet you guys? Are you really not afraid of death? The armorist grinned. Captain, don't scold us. We're all from your team. Do you think you're the toughest team of the pioneers for nothing? Captain, on the other hand, you secretly went to the Sea of Pearls without us? Why? Are you looking down on us? The hunter nodded. That's right. We know you very well. You disappeared just now, so the few of us knew about it. Look, without our cooperation, you would have lost your leg, wouldn't you? Puh. The manipulator patted the hunter's shoulder. What are you talking about? What do you mean lost my leg? I can regrow my leg if it's gone. I'm afraid that Marshal Han will be very busy as a new official. The armorist who was grilling the barbecue said, Doesn't that mean he can rest for a few more days? It's very lively here. All of a sudden, an unfamiliar voice rang out. The few people who were chatting and laughing quickly turned around and looked at the door. Meow, Han Fei, you're finally back? I have something important to tell you, something very, very important. Jiuyin Ling smiled. Big Yellow indeed has something important to tell you. Han Fei said angrily, Something important? Are you going to undergo a tribulation? Meow, I'm not. Just wait and see. Meow, as Big Yellow meowed, Han Fei saw 5 yellow kittens rush at him. Needless to say, they were all Big Yellow's cat sons and daughters. The strongest of them was already a peak-level hanging fisher. He was not weak at all. It seemed that Big Yellow had made a lot of efforts over the years. Han Fei couldn't help but sigh. When he left the Scattered Stars Island, he only left 2 cats for Big Yellow. Was he trying to create a cat clan? Big Yellow meowed, Call me uncle. Meow. 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 Han Fei's lips twitched. Damn, what kind of uncle do you have? Looking at the group of kittens staring at him, their eyes were round and round. Han Fei was speechless. With a thought, a cat threw a large mass of green liquid. What was it if not spirit awakening fluid? Han Fei couldn't help but smile. I won't give you food. You can already catch flood dragons in the sea now. The kittens are growing. Give them some spirit awakening fluid to moisten their bones. The group of kittens picked up their sea-swallowing seashells and swallowed the spirit awakening fluid with a swish. Looking at his skills, Han Fei felt that he was probably a recidivist. Sure enough, Big Yellow meowed, Thank you, uncle. Meow. 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 The corners of Han Fei's mouth twitched and he said helplessly, Big Yellow, you've really put in a lot of effort. Jiuyin Ling snickered. Of course, this was not the first time this scene had happened. However, none of the previous victims of Big Yellow's extortion were as rich as Han Fei. Jiuyin Ling didn't know whether she should tell Han Fei or not. If you don't plan to live here, from now on, every time you come here, Big Yellow can bring its cat son and cat daughter to ask you for gift. Xiaoyu and her teammates were dumbfounded by the interaction between Han Fei and Big Yellow. They looked at each other in bewilderment. Is that King Spirit Awakening Fluid? That's 3,500 points of Spirit Awakening Fluid per caddy? Damn, That must be hundreds of caddies of spirit-awakening fluid, right? That's 2 or 3 million points. They were shocked. F***ck, this is too extravagant. They almost engraved the words, "I'm a local tycoon," on their heads. However, they forgot that the price of 3,500 points of spirit-awakening fluid per caddy was only set in the past 2 years. In the past, it cost 5,000 points to buy a caddy. When Han Fei looked at them, they all straightened their bodies and shouted nervously, "Greetings, General Han." Han Fei smiled faintly. "No need to be so polite. Now that the grill and the hot pot have been set up, let's improve the food." Then, Han Fei casually threw out 2 weird creatures. One was a transparent algae eel, with only a touch of silver at the edge. The other was a heavenly spirit ray, 5 or 6 meters long. Meow, even Juyin Ling wasn't familiar with it. Big Yellow suddenly meowed. "This is a heavenly spirit ray, a legendary creature. The blood of this one makes me feel a little excited. I'm afraid it has just entered the Dao-seeking state." "What?" He Xiaoyu and her teammates were all dumbfounded. Damn it. Was a legendary creature meant to be eaten? But they clearly heard Han Fei say that they should improve the food just now. Is this what he meant by improving the food? Seeing Han Fei's reaction, He Xiaoyu immediately said, "Okay, don't take anything out. If you bring out such a powerful creature, who can eat it?" At this moment, He Xiaoyu was not as nervous as she was at the beginning. After all, with some time as a buffer, He Xiaoyu simply cleaned up. Her hair was no longer messy, and her face was no longer covered. Juyin Ling said, "Let's heal Xiaoyu first." Speaking of healing, Han Fei said solemnly, "He Xiaoyu, what happened to you? There are too many wounds in your body that have seriously damaged your foundation. Did you try to become a law enforcer recently? But you failed, didn't you?" Even Juyin Ling was surprised. "Xiaoyu, you tried to become a law enforcer?" The other teammates all looked at He Xiaoyu in surprise, thinking, "Why didn't we know?" He Xiaoyu gritted her teeth and slightly turned her head to one side. Han Fei helplessly smiled and said casually, "That's not how you become stronger. Experts polish their foundation step by step and slowly become stronger." He Xiaoyu subconsciously retorted, "Nonsense. You're very fast." Han Fei was speechless. Even her teammates were a little speechless. They thought to themselves, "Captain, you have to be more careful. He's someone who can become the supreme commander of the Scattered Stars Island. Why don't you compare yourself to him? Why do you have to compare yourself to the supreme commander?" Han Fei, on the other hand, grinned. "Okay, sit up straight. I'll wash the internal wounds in your body first and wash away the accumulated toxins." With that said, Han Fei looked at the others and said, "You'd better sit down cross-legged too. My healing technique is not weak, and it should affect you. If you can absorb it, you can also try." They were overjoyed to hear this. "Thank you, General Han." Meow. "Wait a minute." All of a sudden, Big Yellow shouted and quickly meowed. As a result, the cat boy and the cat girl who had just run away rushed back with a swish. They all squatted aside and looked at Han Fei eagerly. Han Fei. Chapter 1398. The Apocalyptic Divine Technique consumed vitality. It wasn't difficult to cleanse He Xiaoyu's body, so it was normal for other people to benefit from it. After all, Han Fei had already become a real powerhouse today. Seeing this, Han Fei said, "Fine. Little Nine, you can join us too. Even your growth is too fast, and the polishing of your innate root is still a little lacking." Even when the old turtle possessed Gui Sanqing, he had to use the Apocalyptic Divine Technique to cleanse his old wounds and improve his physique. He was a half-venerable expert. How could it be difficult for Juyin Ling and the others? Juyin Ling said in surprise, "We're not hurt." Han Fei said with a smile, "That's fine. The technique I'm going to use will probably clean up the old wounds, hidden diseases, and damaged bones in your bodies." Han Fei's body was enshrouded in white light, and then he shouted in a low voice, "Sit tight." Nobody dared to neglect him, and He Xiaoyu was so nervous that she didn't dare to move. Even Big Yellow used its paw to slap one of its sons, which did not sit properly, and it sat down too. Suddenly, above the Empyrean waterfall, a milky beam of light suddenly descended. He Xiaoyu's small courtyard was instantly drowned by the white mist. Ah! Meow. Almost everyone's spirit was shaken, as if they had fallen into the gentle healing spring water. Their strength was returning, their flesh and blood were being cleansed, their meridians were being unblocked, and their old injuries were being flushed out by the white mist. They were completely healed. Immediately, everyone at the Empyrean waterfall looked at the courtyard where He Xiaoyu was. However, as soon as Han Fei stepped on it, the courtyard was instantly covered by the mist, and the scene inside could not be seen by the outside world. However, Han Fei's array could block the people at the Empyrean waterfall, but not the venerable realm experts. Immediately, a few venerables scanned over. However, Han Fei was very tough. With a shake of his soul, those senses that scanned over were immediately shattered. Han Fei didn't give these people any face but said bluntly, "Now that I'm the commander, do I need you to check on such a trivial matter?" In terms of toughness, Shueishenqi and Han Fei were of the same origin. Sun Baixing secretly cursed, "Han Fei is really arrogant." Ye Kai snorted and said, "Right now, his reputation is at its peak. It's not a good time to target him." Yang Kuan said angrily, "Luckily, we're not in the 1,000-star city. Otherwise, I'd kill him." But if he said this in front of Han Fei would probably retort back at him. "Look at how capable the Yang clan is. If you had the ability to split me apart, why did you do it earlier?" Chu Qing did not say a word and responded coldly. He thought to himself, "The higher you climb, the harder you fall. You want to fight for the throne? Are you even worthy?" Unlike the people from the aristocratic families, the people from the 7 great sects also tried to spy on them, but their senses were also cut off. However, no one was stupid. A pillar of light descended. How could such a pure and holy light really be nothing? That pillar of light was filled with the power of the great Tao. Whoosh, 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 everyone, including Juyin Ling, was enshrouded in a milky white halo. The difference was that this pillar of light mainly shone on He Xiaoyu, so she suffered the most, followed by Juyin Ling, who was deliberately dispersed by Han Fei. After about 10 seconds, the pillar of light began to fade. 30 seconds later, the pillar of light completely disappeared. However, everyone was still covered in a layer of white mist. Han Fei looked at He Xiaoyu's teammates. These people were even weaker, and a trace of the power they emitted was enough to heal them. Han Fei said, "The old injuries in your bodies have been cleaned up. My suggestion is that you can practice body tempering techniques in a short time. Because the foundation in your bodies has been cleansed by me, you'll get twice the result with half the effort during this period." Then Han Fei looked at Juyin Ling and said, "You too. You have to go through a tribulation. Your physique is not enough now. I'll give you the body tempering technique later." "Okay." Juyin Ling nodded softly. She felt that she was even lighter. Han Fei's technique was really amazing. It could even cleanse the foundation. Gotcha. Suddenly, a crisp cracking sound came from He Xiaoyu's body. However, He Xiaoyu was already a peak-level hidden fisher. If she made another breakthrough, she would become a law enforcer. This was obviously not a breakthrough. While everyone was puzzled, Han Fei said casually, "The level of your spiritual heritage has increased. He Xiaoyu, did you eat any special heavenly materials and earthly treasures?" After a few seconds, He Xiaoyu suddenly came back to herself and looked at Han Fei in confusion. The manipulator next to her reminded, "Captain, your spiritual heritage has made a breakthrough." Spiritual heritage? He Xiaoyu quickly said, "Oh. Once, in a mystic realm, some special power entered my body and raised my spirit meridian." Han Fei nodded slightly. "That's right. It's not that this power can't improve you, but that your foundation is too damaged, which hinders the improvement of your spiritual heritage. If nothing goes wrong, the moment this power is activated, it should be able to raise your cultivation by 1 or 2 minor levels. Even though it won't reach the 6th level, it won't be too bad. He Xiaoyu's eyes lit up when she heard that she could still improve. She was about to stand up happily, but when she looked down, she found that her legs still hadn't grown back. He Xiaoyu couldn't help but turn pale. Is it useless? Even such a powerful healing technique can't regenerate limbs? He Xiaoyu's teammates panicked too. It was impossible. Didn't they say that a venerable could regenerate broken limbs? Jiuyin Ling was also surprised. Can't it? Big Yellow, on the other hand, stuffed all the cat children into his mouth and said, "What's the hurry? This is a great technique to repair the foundation. It's more difficult than the limb regenerate technique." Han Fei grinned. It seemed that Big Yellow had seen a lot after following Granny Yin for so long. Han Fei had learned the limb regenerate technique, and because it was a life-saving technique, he pushed it all the way to the heaven level, divine quality level. Information popped up in his head. Holy Light Guardian, heaven level, divine quality. Introduction. There is light in the world, which is called the healing divine light. The divine light connects with the origin of the void, nurtures billions of creatures, and gives all things the foundation of recovery. The divine light melts with the soul and intertwines with the flesh and blood. With energy as the foundation, it can regenerate limbs and summon souls. Healing range, vitality still exists. The consumption varies depending on the degree of injury. Derived art, grand resurrection art, spiritual energy consumption, 1 billion points. Note: if you have excess energy, you can condense a holy light guardian to keep you company. Han Fei couldn't help but be amazed by the allure of the great path of heavenly enlightenment. If his guess was correct, if he deduced it further, it would be the resurrection technique. Although it wouldn't be as exaggerated, it was definitely not simple. The last remark said that it could condense a guardian. That was the scariest part. It could even store holy light. Han Fei said, "Big Yellow is right. Repairing the foundation is repairing the foundation, and regrowing limbs is not. They're two different things." Han Fei waved his hand and 4 lines of holy light appeared around He Xiaoyu like snakes, gathering energy into He Xiaoyu's body. Han Fei took out a spiritual fruit that was still warm from the Empyrean waterfall and said, "The regrowth of broken limbs is mainly about energy. If you have enough energy and healing light, you can regrow your limbs with your own blood and qi. Although theoretically, there won't be any problems after you're reborn, you still need to cultivate for a few days to see the effect." As Han Fei spoke, he saw that bones extended from He Xiaoyu's legs, and her flesh and blood intertwined. Under the concentration of energy, her legs were growing at a visible speed. Gudu! The spirit gatherer in He Xiaoyu's team was drooling. What a spirit gatherer! This is what a spirit gatherer is. It's really amazing. If all spirit gatherers could do this, the casualty rate of human beings would be reduced by at least 10%. He Xiaoyu was also shocked. Was there any more amazing feeling than watching her own flesh and blood being regenerated? Huh! Han Fei was slightly surprised. He found that a heaven-level ultra-quality energy fruit was not enough. Although the energy contained in this energy fruit was not as good as the immeasurable fruit that the Life Queen gave him, it was still enough. The energy contained in this energy fruit was definitely 1% of the immeasurable fruit. For someone at He Xiaoyu's level, it was more than enough. However, Han Fei immediately understood that He Xiaoyu had practiced the 108 spirit-absorbing war bodies to the extreme and had already mastered it. Han Fei took out another energy fruit. At this moment, He Xiaoyu's 2 leg bones had grown, and her flesh and meridians had already taken shape. With another energy fruit she would be fine. Han Fei said casually, "The body-refining techniques that can be bought on the Scattered Stars Island are actually not that good. I have a jade slip here, which is the follow-up of the spirit-absorbing war body. You can practice it. As for the spirit-absorbing war body, you can teach it to others as long as you have a good foundation. He Xiaoyu immediately gritted her teeth. Han Fei must have noticed that her body refining technique had not made any progress. After searching the entire Scattered Stars Island, she couldn't find a body refining technique better than the 108 spirit-absorbing war bodies. However, He Xiaoyu didn't refuse. As long as she could become stronger, as long as she could stand to a higher height one day in the future, why not? Seeing He Xiaoyu take the jade slip, Han Fei's hand shone with holy light, and energy gathered. An earring, a bracelet, and a bell appeared. He handed the earring to Joeen Ling and said, "You can wear it daily. If you need to regrow your limbs, you can use it. In the future, you must practice this technique again. When you have mastered this technique, you can go through the tribulation." Joeen Ling smiled lightly. "Okay." He handed the bracelet to He Xiaoyu. "It's about the same. Put it away. At least it can save your life." Finally, Han Fei threw the bell to Big Yellow. "And yours." Meow. Of course, other people didn't have it. He gave it to Big Yellow because Big Yellow was from the beast tribe. He was also the only pure beast tribe living being he had seen in the entire Yin-Yang heaven. With a thought, Han Fei found that many people of the Empyrean waterfall were already standing at the door, on the roof, and in every corner, looking at He Xiaoyu's home. Alas, Han Fei heaved a long sigh and then grinned. "Hey you, barbecue and hot pot. After this meal, I have to go back to work." Chapter 1399. Although Han Fei was quite a troublemaker himself, in other people's eyes, he was the marshal now. But in the eyes of others, he was now a general. Because he was powerful, he had a certain dignity. Therefore, this meal wasn't very lively. It was mainly because other people couldn't bear the terrifying energy of the heavenly spirit ray after taking a few bites. Their bodies were throbbing, and their auras were rising slightly. He Xiaoyu's legs had just grown back, and the boulder hanging in her heart was immediately relieved. If she had lost her legs, she would have died. She didn't know what to do, but it also annoyed her that Han Fei was getting stronger and stronger. Not to mention herself, even Joeen Ling was left far behind. Han Fei couldn't help but think that Xia Xiaochan couldn't keep up with Han Fei's cultivation speed, could she? Some of Han Fei's deeds had long been spread throughout the Scattered Stars Island, so she knew that Han Fei forced himself into the sea and killed the Dark Hunter Legion twice. Because of Xia Xiaochan's disappearance, He Xiaoyu knew that cultivation was not easy and there were too many dangers in this world. Only the one who walked to the end was truly qualified. She didn't want to cultivate the fastest, but she wanted to walk the most steadily. He Xiaoyu didn't eat much fish. She probably didn't eat much, but she pretended to be cultivating. Only Joeen Ling said casually, "Are you going to take over the position?" Han Fei nodded slightly. The succession of the old and the new is always going to take a while. Joeen Ling sighed softly. "Actually, I don't want you to be the marshal. The overall strength of the sea demons has suddenly become much stronger. There are more and more sea spirits, and a lot of explorers have appeared, forcing all the hidden experts on the Scattered Stars Island to come out. You've killed 2 venerables. It's not hard to imagine how many more." Han Fei nodded. "I'll kill as many as they come, but you have to focus on your cultivation in the future." Han Fei was implying that he probably wouldn't appear in the Empyrean waterfall or meet Joeen Ling for a while. Han Fei didn't want to think too much about love. Especially at such a critical moment, he had no time to think about it. Under Joeen Ling's gentle gaze, Han Fei stepped through the void and crossed 100 kilometers away. The moment Han Fei appeared, several senses immediately swept over, and all of them belonged to venerable realm experts who had already arrived. Han Fei sneered and ignored these people. Instead, he chanted in a low voice, which sounded like thunder exploding over the entire Scattered Stars Island. "I'm Han Fei. Tomorrow morning, in the Sea God Square outside the central city, I will officially take over the position of the Supreme Commander of the Scattered Stars Island. Listen to my orders. All the heads of the various departments are to lead the non-staying personnel to the scene. No delays. Han Fei's voice reverberated in the air, and could be heard by the entire Scattered Stars Island. Originally, it was only the soldiers who returned from the Sea of Pearls who claimed that Han Fei was the Supreme Commander. It immediately set off a heated discussion. At this moment, Han Fei confirmed this matter in person, and Shueishenqi didn't refute it. It seemed that this matter was confirmed. For a time, all the departments of the Scattered Stars Island were discussing heatedly, especially the refining hall. A refiner burst into laughter. Look, what did I tell you? When General Han built the Fianmu furnace, I felt that General Han was extraordinary and had the demeanor of a general. In just a few years, Han Fei succeeded to the position of Marshal Shui. A waiter said, "You may not believe it, but when General Han refined weapons, I attracted customers. No one can match our wonderful cooperation." Someone held up the spirit-fusing scripture, spirit-polishing scripture, and spirit-enhancement scripture. The 3 heaven-level refining techniques were sold for free, which showed how extraordinary General Han was. As soon as these 3 scriptures were released, the spiritual energy refining methods were pushed to the peak, and most importantly, they were free. This was something only a general commander could do. Someone chimed in, "I heard that it was General Han who suppressed the price of spirit weapons in the artifact forging hall in one go." Someone sneered. Of course. As soon as the Fianmu furnace was released, the price of semi-divine weapons plummeted. How could the price of spiritual weapons not fall? Someone was also suspicious. Isn't it said that the Fianmu furnace was created by Han Fei, Guan Qinyan, and Mu Jie? Why didn't they mention anything about Guan Qinyan and Mu Jie? Someone laughed. What do you know? Guan Qinyan himself admitted that when he forged the Fianmu furnace, they just assisted him from the side. It was all designed by General Han alone. Scattered Stars Prison. Hearing Han Fei's announcement, Zhang Ting couldn't help but say leisurely, "I never thought that it would only take Long Ting 10 years. Is this what a talented general is like?" Behind him, Su Mo said, "Boss, Han Fei won't come back to make trouble for us, will he?" Zhang Ting sneered. "What are you thinking? How can a talented general take such a trifle to heart? Besides, we also acted according to the rules at the beginning. There was nothing wrong with it. I'm just sighing with emotion." Tactical Command Center. Someone shouted sternly, "Find out all the information about Han Fei." After a while, someone handed over a jade slip and said, "Sir, it's all here." The man took the jade slip, flipped through it casually, and snorted. Why did such a person become the Supreme Commander? Selfish, greedy, ostentatious, overconfident, boastful. Someone echoed, "Yes, Han Fei really doesn't have many military merits. Although he has won a few beautiful battles, it's too few." Someone said, "I don't believe it. If such a person leads the Scattered Stars Island, wouldn't it be a mess?" At this moment, the entire Scattered Stars Island, millions of people, from the leaders of the divisions to the new recruits, were discussing Han Fei's name. Some people agreed that strength was the hard truth. Han Fei had killed 2 of them in a row, which was very extraordinary. Some people weren't optimistic about him, thinking that the position of the Supreme Commander didn't necessarily mean that he had a strong combat power, but also that he had to have a brain and the ability to control the battlefield. For a while there were different opinions, but most people were ready to go to the Sea God Square outside the central city the next day. In any case, this was a century-old event, and it would be a pity if they didn't go. The Scattered Stars' 7th Unit. Among them, the 4th Unit could be said to be an extremely popular department at this moment. Beihua, Guan Qinyan, and the others were assessing 3 refiners who applied to come here. At this moment, Guan Qinyan shook his head slightly. "None of them. Mu Jiao also shook her head. Although they are much stronger than ordinary people, they are not qualified to join the Scattered Stars' 4th unit. Beihua smiled in agreement. After seeing them off, he said slowly, "In fact, there aren't many people who can really settle down and focus on refining now that the flames of war are raging. This batch is already the best we've seen in the past 6 months." Guan Qinyan shook his head. "Not good. The Scattered Stars' 4th unit would rather have nothing than a shoddy product. With Brother Han's 3 scriptures, his refining level is still so low. He definitely can't join the Scattered Stars' 4th unit." Mu Jiao also nodded. "Hey, that guy didn't even come back to visit us when he came back. He must have forgotten us when he became a general." Mu Jiao also didn't compare herself with Han Fei. It turned out that Han Fei was a monster. Why should she compare her talent with a monster? At this moment, the door of the Scattered Stars' 4th unit opened, and a voice came leisurely. "Oh, why do you think I am such a person?" In an instant, everyone turned their heads around. Guan Qingyan's eyes lit up. "Brother Han." Mu Jiao was shocked. "You're back? You're about to take over the position of the general. Why do you have time to come here?" Beihua said, "Han. General Han." Han Fei said with a smile, "Senior Beihua, please don't be so polite." Then, Han Fei said to Mu Jiao helplessly, "That's not what you said last time." Mu Jiao blushed. "Humph, did I say that? I didn't say anything bad about you." "Guan Qinyan, don't you think so?" There was still a faint layer of frost on Guan Qingyan's face, and his face was still stiff and indifferent. Although Mu Jiao was joking, she was right. Why did Han Fei have time to come to the Scattered Stars' 4th unit? Guan Qinyan immediately said, "Brother Han, what's the matter?" Everyone immediately realized that Han Fei must have come here for something. They couldn't help but become solemn. The situation on the Scattered Stars Island was turbulent. If there was something important, it couldn't be delayed any longer. Han Fei put his arm around Guan Qingyan's shoulder with a smile. "Can't I come back for a visit?" Seeing that Guan Qingyan was still looking at him quietly, Han Fei immediately shrugged. "Okay. I really don't know how Mu Jiao can stand you. You look so serious every day. Okay, let's get down to business." After he came out of the Scattered Stars' 4th unit, it was already the next morning, and darkness had already enveloped the earth and the sea. Han Fei scanned with his perception and quickly confirmed a place. Then, he concealed his aura and stepped over. After passing the door, the underground passage, and the earth elevator, Han Fei came to a thatched cottage. This was exactly the Scattered Stars archive room that he had the honor of visiting once before. As soon as Han Fei arrived here, he heard a voice coming from the cottage. "General Han, why are you here so late at night?" Han Fei wanted to directly scan this place with his perception, but his fingers moved slightly and he calculated with his fingers. It seemed inappropriate. The person inside must be very strong. Han Fei frowned. That Elder Chun here must be a hidden expert. The old turtle said directly, "I am an old venerable, but I was seriously injured and have been cultivating here." Han Fei frowned. The old turtle's soul power was extraordinary. He could even hide in front of a king. It was not difficult for him to find a venerable at this moment. Han Fei immediately said, "Elder Chen, I want an old file." "What are you looking for, General Han?" Han Fei said resolutely, "All the information about Tang Yen, the highest commander of the Scattered Stars Island 1,800 years ago. First update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 1400. The next morning, the sky was clear, and the lonely cry of the cloud whale could occasionally be heard from the depths of the clouds. On the Sea God Square, outside the central city of the Scattered Stars Island. As early as the first glimmer of dawn, this place was already packed to the brim. The flat square, which was more than 10 kilometers long and wide, seemed too small at this moment. Fortunately, the sea around the Scattered Stars Island had to be guarded day and night. This was a delicate moment when the war was tense, and the coastal defense line had to be defended by a large number of people. Therefore, only half of the people who were present today were present at most. But even so, the 5 cities were all empty, and the noise outside the central city stretched for dozens of kilometers. It was like a speech. Without the leader, the people below were naturally talking about all kinds of things. Someone said, "I think this is the time when the situation is critical. Even if they want to change the commander, they shouldn't do it at this time. After all, Han Fei is not very familiar with the various defenses of the Scattered Stars Island." Someone retorted, "What are you afraid of? No matter who it is, they're just fighting with sea demons. Han Fei is obviously strong." Someone said, "Han Fei is indeed very strong. He killed 2 Tao-seeking state demons in a row. Do you know what that means? I heard that more than a dozen Tao-seeking state demons have been killed by Han Fei. Who else on the island can do that?" Someone rolled his eyes. "What do you know? Those who only know how to fight are boorish men. They're brainless." Someone sneered, "You're the brainless one. If Han Fei is brainless, will General Shueishenqi let Han Fei succeed? Why doesn't he use his brain?" Just as the crowd was discussing spiritedly, another voice suddenly rang out from somewhere in the crowd. Someone said, "How can Han Fei take over the position of the Supreme Commander of the Scattered Stars Island? I heard that Han Fei has a strong background. His father is a venerable. He forced General Shueishenqi to abdicate, or he would slaughter the Scattered Stars Island." Immediately, people exclaimed one after another. Someone cried out involuntarily, "It can't be, right?" It seemed that in order to prevent others from eavesdropping, most people even used voice transmissions, thinking that there were millions of people here anyway. Someone also said, "Do you know, Han Fei is from the Thug Academy. That academy once prepared to activate a taboo, causing the entire human race to be in trouble." "Huh?" Someone asked, "What taboo could cause the entire human race to fall into such a predicament?" The man shrugged. "How would I know? I just heard it from someone." While millions of people were discussing, Han Fei and Shueishenqi stood side by side in the void. Shueishenqi said casually, "If you want to control the Scattered Stars Island, you have to control people's hearts first. You clearly know that it's the work of the aristocratic families, but you're just watching?" Han Fei sneered. "Watch? Do I really need time to prove that I am here to save the human race? No, I have my way, and my way does not allow me to do this." Shueishenqi glanced at Han Fei casually. "You are different from your father. You are one of the few hardliners among the commanders of the Scattered Stars Island. You don't want the situation on the Scattered Stars Island to last long, but the Scattered Stars Island is limited by the terrain, and the 10,000 Demon Valley is very far away. Not to mention the army setting out, the continuous naval battles along the way will exhaust a lot of people." Han Fei said, "We are indeed different, but it's not because of our different attitudes toward war. What I want is internal unity. I never expect ordinary people to follow me into the deep sea. That would be too stupid. Just like now, I have succeeded as the Supreme Commander, and the general trend has been set. However, those idiots from the big families think that they can stop me from succeeding with some rumors. I really don't know if their brains have been hit by an iron-headed fish." When he said this, Han Fei didn't use a voice transmission at all but just said it out loud. Since he had already spoken, how could it not be heard by others? Han Fei sneered. "You still don't know me after all." Han Fei took a step forward and walked to the sea god's square step by step in the sky above the central city. Silence. Han Fei stood proudly, his body glowing with golden light. Under the sunlight, a golden giant more than 20 meters tall, like a golden-armored god of war stepping from the sky, was walking towards the crowd step by step. The corners of Han Fei's mouth curled up. With a thought, his spiritual fire suddenly rose. Hoop! Above the distant sky, under the feet of the golden giant, golden lotuses bloomed one after another. Beam, beam, beam. A lotus flower with every step, it could be described as a lotus blossoming with every step. The lotuses bloomed and finally turned into spiritual energy again, disappearing between heaven and earth. Han Fei walked forward and spoke. His voice was deep and heavy, and his voice spread throughout the entire scattered stars island. Even the personnel guarding at the edge of the coastline couldn't help but look at the sky at this moment, saying excitedly, "It's starting, it's starting." On the sea god square, under the attention of everyone, many strong masters couldn't help but smile when they saw Han Fei's lotus flowers appearing with every step he took. What's so difficult about this? It's as if no one can do it. Some people couldn't help but nod in satisfaction. This way of entering the stage is creative. It looks very scary. In fact, everyone who was an explorer was stunned. They thought to themselves, is this what a King powerhouse looks like? A lotus flower appearing with every step? That lotus flower could crush a lot of them, right? Han Fei said jokingly, "General Shueishenqi, if you don't show up, I won't dare to take over this position." Crack! A big sword fell from the sky. The sword was 100 meters high and looked extraordinary. In terms of size, Shueishenqi was much better. But in terms of creativity and shocking means, Han Fei was naturally the winner. Shueishenqi said, "I've already told you about it yesterday. There are many talents on the scattered stars island. Han Fei is talented and tough. Recently, he has killed 2 masters. In terms of means and ability, he is not inferior to me. Today, I changed the stage for the sake of the human clan. Perhaps my method was wrong, which made the sea demons more rampant and fiercer. I hope Han Fei can change this situation." Shueishenqi looked at the millions of people in the field, and said in a loud voice, "You should have heard of Han Fei's achievements. The Fei Yin Mu furnace has raised the quality of the weapons in your hands by a level, allowing the art of refining to enter a new era. After careful consideration, Han Fei's realm, strength, means, and wisdom are all outstanding among his peers. He may take over the position of the supreme commander of the Scattered Stars City." With that, Shueishenqi waved his hand and the sky curtain bloomed. Under the sky curtain, the whole island could see this scene. In the picture, Shueishenqi handed a 13-star token to Han Fei. Wait a minute. As soon as the handover ceremony began, a voice echoed between heaven and earth. Judging from the voice, it was Chu Qing of the Chu sect. This person stepped through the void and came to stop him. Shueishenqi frowned. If the Chu sect wants to intervene in the affairs of the Scattered Stars Island, don't blame me for being rude. Chu Qing smiled. "General Shui, don't worry. It's not that we don't trust you, but we don't trust Han Fei and the people behind Han Fei." Chu Qing didn't come to fight, so he appeared in front of Shueishenqi and the others at a height of 1,000 meters. Shueishenqi shouted in a low voice, "The 1,000-star city has no right to intervene in the affairs of the Scattered Stars Island. I'll say it again. Get out of the way." Chu Qing didn't give in at all. He just chuckled and his voice spread throughout the island. "Han Fei is from the Thug Academy, a vicious demonic organization. The patriarch of the Thug Academy is an undead creature and has long been demonized. More than 10 years ago, he led countless evil forces to attack the 1,000-star city but failed. Han Fei, let me ask you, is this true? You just need to answer yes or no." With a faint smile on his face, Han Fei looked at Chu Qing. If it were someone else, such as an upright person like Shueishenqi, an obedient person like Join Ling, or a hot-tempered person like Old Jiang, they might have started a fight. However, there were millions of people present. How could a venerable take action? Otherwise, how many people would be killed? At this moment, facing Chu Qing's question, how could Han Fei answer Chu Qing's question? Han Fei said leisurely, "Bullsh *t." The audience was in an uproar. Was Han Fei so polite? Although everyone talked like this in private, It seemed very inappropriate to say it in front of so many people. Chu Qing seemed to want to see Han Fei fly into a rage out of humiliation. If you don't even look like a general, and can't even take a little stimulation, how can you be a general? But Han Fei continued, the Chu sect of the Thousand-Star City dominates a region. The soldiers on the front line barely survive, but you exploit the resources of the scattered Stars Island all year round. As a result, there are countless venerables hidden in the clan, and there are even several demi-king realm masters. However, when the human race was in trouble and suffered heavy casualties, none of you came to help. Now, only you, a mere mid-level venerable, came, but you want to seize power and seek more resources from the millions of soldiers. Let me ask you, why the F***CK do you think you can do this? Why do all the big families in the Thousand-Star City have to do this? Immediately, the millions of people present exclaimed. They had never heard of the Chu sect of the Thousand-Star City. Some people from the Thousand-Star City naturally knew about the Chu sect. Hearing Han Fei's words, they were indignant. This was how people were. No matter where they were, they would always hate the rich. Besides, the big families of the world didn't give a very good impression. Chu Qing's face changed slightly. Han Fei, don't try to avoid the question. The Thug Patriarch of the Thug Academy is an undead creature. Do you dare to deny this? Han Fei immediately smiled. The Thug Patriarch? Sorry, I don't know the Thug Patriarch. He should have been dead for thousands of years. As everyone knows, the Thug Academy was strangled by the Thousand-Star City decades ago, and only a few old soldiers are left. If the Thug Patriarch is here, with his ability to suppress the Thousand-Star City alone, do you dare to fight us? You're a venerable? Are you retarded? Chu Qing's eyelids twitched. Is Han Fei shameless? He just said he didn't know the Thug Patriarch? Chu Qing asked, do you dare to swear to the Great Tao? Han Fei blinked. I can swear at any time. However, the Chu sect of the Thousand-Star City has been exploiting the resources of the scattered Stars Island year after year, but the frontline soldiers have no resources to use. Do you dare to swear to the Great Tao? Tens of millions of years ago, the Chu sect and the big families of the Thousand-Star City attacked the strong masters of the Nine Heavens, angering the Great Tao, causing the Great Tao to look at the human world, resulting in no more kings in the human world. Do you dare to swear to the Great Tao? Do you dare? The third update is being written. Second update. Asking for votes. The third update is being written, a little later, end of this chapter. Chapter 1401. Compared with these strong masters in the Thousand-Star City, Han Fei had experienced everything from the bottom, especially in the Ideal Palace. He and the people on the Avengers had been wandering on the sea for decades. What hadn't they experienced? At that time, the population of the City of Hope was much larger than that of the scattered Stars Island, but didn't he still rule it? Didn't the big families stop him at that time? But they all came here. As for the Thug Patriarch that Chu Qing mentioned, Han Fei thought to himself, I don't recognize him. That's my junior uncle Faceless, immortally. What does it have to do with the Thug Patriarch? The Thug Patriarch was just a title. He had been poisoned to death. Now I'm an undead creature. But compared with the history of the Thug Academy, the big families were simply indescribable. In front of these millions of people, Han Fei wasn't worried that Chu Qing would take action anyway, so he just smiled gently. Look, this is the big families of the Thousand-Star City. A group of venerables in the Thousand-Star City watched us die and refused to help. You worked hard to collect resources on the coastline, killing sea demons, and searching for sea-swallowing seashells. In the end, the refining hall, the alchemy workshop, and many other places refined excellent weapons, but you couldn't use them. They were all taken by these B***stards. How can you tolerate that? Han Fei, shut up. You're slandering the Chu sect and the other clans. Who? Han Fei roared in a low voice. Shut up. Now I'm the commander. Who do you think you are? How dare you be so presumptuous here? Either you swear by the great Tao or you shut your mouth. Otherwise, go back to your 1,000-star city. Han Fei's voice was magical, shaking the surroundings and making the blood of countless people boil. The people present were not stupid. Who didn't know that the big families were rich? Now they came to stop Han Fei, only to be exposed. How shameful! However, although the big families were not good, they didn't think Han Fei was a good person at this moment. Because Han Fei really didn't win any earth-shattering battles for the Scattered Stars Island. In the 2 battles of killing the Venerables, Han Fei did save countless lives. But the problem was that Han Fei won too easily, and the frequency of his victories was too high, and he took over the position of the Supreme Commander too quickly. It was inevitable that people couldn't accept it immediately. At this moment, Chu Qing's face turned red after being scolded by Han Fei. He really wanted to kill Han Fei. However, just like Han Fei didn't dare to attack, he didn't dare to attack either. If anyone dared to attack at this moment and caused even one casualty, they would become a great enemy of the entire Scattered Stars Island. Han Fei looked fierce. You said that I, Han Fei, can't take over the position of the Supreme Commander. May I ask if this Fiamu stove was made by the Chu sect? May I ask if this sea race venerable belongs to the Chu clan? If I may ask, have you killed a single sea demon since you entered the Scattered Stars Island? You haven't even killed AF** King Kingworm. How dare you think I'm not qualified to be the marshal? Chu Qing calmed down a little. He had come out in a hurry. In this case, Han Fei might not be able to stop him with his foundation. It was not that he couldn't ask, but everyone knew that the aristocratic families would exploit others, so this exploitation would be regarded as tacit consent. If he wasn't asked, he would be scolded at most. But Han Fei was different. Han Fei had become well known on the Scattered Stars Island and had made great achievements. Now he was equivalent to the new Supreme Commander of the Scattered Stars Island. His words carried a lot of weight. Compared with his identity as a venerable, Han Fei's words carried a lot of weight. Chu Qing immediately had a thought. Suddenly, he saw a beginner explorer fly into the sky and shout, "Please forgive me for overstepping my bounds. I'm Tian Heng, the Minister of the Tactical Command Center." Han Fei's face changed slightly. He was about to take the next step, but this person jumped out and interrupted him. He was definitely not a good person. At that time, he remembered the name Tian Heng. Even if I can't kill you now, I'll definitely kill you later. Shueishenqi narrowed his eyes. Is this Tian Heng from an aristocratic family? Shueishenqi said casually, Tian Heng, if you have something to say, just say it, but you have to know the context and the authenticity of what you say. Tian Heng shouted, Don't worry, General Shui. I have my own principles. Han Fei was born on a small island in the Heavenly Water Village in the Blue Sea town of the 36 towns. Before the age of 12, his aptitude was extremely poor. After the age of 12, he suddenly became talented and accumulated a lot of experience. After that, he was admitted to the Thug Academy, and his cultivation path was smooth. However, according to all the information I have, there is an invisible hand behind the scenes promoting this matter. Therefore, it is said that Han Fei's father is a venerable and forced General Shui to abdicate. I think this is very likely. This matter has to be investigated from the ancient battlefield. Tian Heng was also a bold man. After collecting a lot of information, he finally came to the conclusion, there is a very strong boss behind Han Fei, even among the venerables. However, Tian Heng didn't say who it was. No one knew whether he didn't find out or he deliberately didn't say it. Tian Heng said, although Han Fei has made great contributions to the Scattered Stars Island, but with all his achievements and his current character, he is not worthy of the position of the commander of the Scattered Stars Island. Therefore, the Tactical Command Center fully opposes Han Fei taking over as the Supreme Commander. At this time, Chu Qing snorted coldly. What is the person behind Han Fei's conspiracy? Is it to destroy the human race? The entire Scattered Stars Island was dumbfounded by this debate. It was as if they were watching a drama. It was horrifying to think about it. On the Scattered Stars Island, Big Yellow, Joeen Ling, and He Xiaoyu were indignant. Someone shouted, "Bastards, none of those big families in the Thousand Star City are good people." Big Yellow meowed. "These people should be killed. Han Fei is a good man. He can cook and send kittens to me." In other places there were many comments. Someone said, "Now it seems that Han Fei doesn't look like a good person either." Someone sighed. Then why did General Shui pass the position to him? Could it be that he was really threatened? While millions of people were deep in thought and discussion, a group of 100 people suddenly rose to the sky. They were led by Beihua, the leader of the Scattered Stars 4th Unit. Beihua roared, "Tianheng, don't bother with the investigation. Everyone has their own secret. Among the millions of people, there are far more than 1 or 2 people who have secret. How many weaklings can come to the Scattered Stars Island?" Next to Beihua, an old man shouted, "I'm Yu Su, a 5-star refiner." A middle-aged man shouted, "I'm Li Yunfei, the leader of the refining hall in the central city." Beihua roared, "Everyone in the refining hall knows very well that the Fianmu furnace has made great contributions. The creation of the Fianmu furnace has revolutionized the refining methods of billions of people in the Thousand Star City and the 36 towns. Isn't this blessing more important than the stuff investigated by the Tactical Command Center? Although we refiners are not strong enough, the birth of the Fianmu furnace is far more important than 1 or 2 big families." Immediately, the hundreds of respected 5-star refiners in the refining hall all shouted, "We are willing to follow Han Fei as the commander." Tianheng was about to say something, when Han Fei's voice suddenly shook. "No matter whether you think I'm qualified to be the commander or not, I'm already the commander. I showed you the ceremony, not for you to recognize and question me. Beihua, from today on, the Scattered Stars Island will cut off the supply of weapons and resources to the Thousand Star City, and so will the Logistics Division. Those residents of the Thousand Star City who want resources can come to the Scattered Stars Island to take turns. The 7 academies of the Thousand Star City will arrange for students to come to the Scattered Stars Island in batches, and they will be treated the same as all the frontline soldiers. Everyone's life is their life, and no one is an exception." Immediately the void trembled. Chu Qing, Yang Kuan, Yi Kai, Sun Baixing, and even the person who seemed to be hiding in the void all changed their expressions. Sure enough, they knew that there would be no benefits for Han Fei to take over the position of the commander of the Scattered Stars Island. At this time, the Level 3 fishery couldn't be entered at all. It was the territory of the Faceless Man, and anyone they met there could be a Faceless Man. Once the mask was put on, the Faceless Man could be anyone, and they couldn't even be found. It cut off the possibility for the big families to gain experience and obtain resources. Last time, when the Thug Academy attacked the Thousand Star City, this Level 3 fishery was also lost, and all the 100 dragon boats fell into the hands of the Faceless Man. The Venerables didn't dare to go to the lower world. Otherwise, with Han Guanshu's ability, who could stop him if he wanted to slaughter ordinary Venerables? But peak-level Venerables and even half-king Venerables didn't dare to go to the lower world. If they came down, their nest would be destroyed, and they wouldn't even have a place to cry. Now, Han Fei had directly cut off the channel for the Thousand Star City to obtain resources. How could the big families sit still? But before everyone was surprised, Han Fei continued, "From today on, the soldiers on the island will have priority to use the best things that can help them improve their realm." At this time, Yi Kai, Yang Kuan, and Sun Baixing all came out and couldn't sit still anymore. Yi Kai said to Han Fei via voice transmission, "Han Fei, without the help of the big families, can you defend the Scattered Stars Island?" Han Fei suddenly looked at Yi Kai. "Or get out of here. No one will keep you here." Now you want to plead with me? But I don't care. If you have the guts, the venerables of the big families can come to the Scattered Stars Island and kill me. Ye Kai was stunned. Who the F***ck is pleading with you? Are you F***king making this up? However, ordinary people couldn't hear the venerable's voice transmission and only thought that Ye Kai really pleaded with them. Immediately, even Chu Qing and the others wanted to tear him apart. Han Fei looked very righteous at this moment, and his voice was so loud that Ye Kai's body was trembling. He really wanted to kill Han Fei. Tianheng wanted to speak again, but Han Fei didn't give him a chance. Han Fei shouted again, "To be frank, I regard the big families as my enemies. If I take over the Scattered Stars Island, it's impossible for you to get a low-quality pearl from the Scattered Stars Island. The big families have exploited the human race for thousands of years, and the resources they have accumulated can only be described as astronomical. Do you think I don't know why you are on the Scattered Stars Island? You want to get benefits but don't want to participate in the war. How can there be such a good thing in the world?" Immediately, Chu Qing had a bad feeling. What does Han Fei mean? Han Fei immediately shouted, his voice rolling like a tide. From today on, the venerables of the Thousand Star City must stay on the Scattered Stars Island. First, they must send 1/3 of the explorers of their families to the front line to fight. Second, each family must subscribe to a certain amount of resources to be eligible to stay. The amount you subscribe to is based on me, and it can't be lower than mine. I have been fighting in the outer sea for more than 10 years and tried my best to get some resources. Now I'm donating all of them to the million soldiers on the Scattered Stars Island. No one had expected this scene, and it was impossible for anyone to think of it. What was the use of one person's resources on such a large Scattered Stars Island? However, Han Fei shouted, "I'm donating 5 million caddies of spiritual spring." When they heard this number, the venerables didn't take it seriously at all, thinking that Han Fei was too narrow-minded. Han Fei continued, "That's right. Spiritual fruits, 50,000. Semi-divine weapon materials, 5 million caddies." Huh! Hearing this, everyone was in an uproar. Damn, did you count it according to 10,000 caddies? The venerables all turned pale. 5 million caddies of semi-divine weapon materials. Although these materials are not very valuable, they are worth far more than 5 million caddies of spiritual spring. And Han Fei was still going on. Low-quality divine weapon materials, 1 million caddies. Medium-quality divine weapon materials, 500,000 caddies. High-quality divine weapon materials, 100,000 caddies. Heaven-level cultivation methods and combat skills, 102 book. These F***king low-quality, mid-quality, and high-quality materials really shocked the audience into silence. What does he mean? Are semi-divine weapons no longer valuable? Have divine weapon-level materials begun to be calculated according to 10,000 caddies? Also, are the heaven-level cultivation methods and combat skills real? Also, are these materials really given priority to the Scattered Stars Island? And these are the resources provided by Han Fei alone? Chu Qing and the others were dumbfounded. Although the total amount was still not much, wasn't this a bit too much? And the heaven-level cultivation methods? Are you kidding me? More than 100? But Han Fei didn't stop and continued. Cultivation methods below the heaven level, 1,242 books. Han Fei thought for a while and said, "That should be enough. Oh, I forgot one more thing. I can also provide 10 million caddies of spirit awakening fluid." Everyone. Chapter 1402. Not to mention Chu Qing and the others, even Jing was dumbfounded. Where the hell did you get millions of kilograms of spirit awakening fluid? On the Scattered Stars Island, those who could see Han Fei and those who couldn't. In short, every time Han Fei mentioned a resource, they would tremble in shock. Han Fei had said that he donated it to the millions of soldiers on the Scattered Stars Island. What was a donation? He gave it to them for free. That was a donation. Not to mention the resources that Han Fei was asking for from the big clans, the resources that Han Fei gave out had already shocked these millions of people. The Empyrean waterfall. Meow, Big Yellow was shocked and meowed. Han Fei is too stingy. Millions of kilograms of spirit awakening fluid only for my children? No, I'm going to find him. Clatter. Juin Ling knocked Big Yellow's head with one hand. Don't bother. What you want for your cat son and cat daughter is to improve their physique. Han Fei's resources are for millions of humans. You can't waste them at all. He Xiaoyu seemed to be used to Han Fei doing extraordinary things, so she was just excited. However, her teammates were all dumbfounded. The armorist sighed. General Han is so domineering. He insulted the venerables and demanded resources by force. He's so domineering. The manipulator covered her little face. I love it. I love it. General Han is really a hero. He's so rich. The spirit gatherer swallowed crazily. It turns out that a person can be so rich. He Xiaoyu spat. Continue to consolidate your cultivation. We'll return in 3 days. Outside the central city, on the Sea God Square. Under the gaze of millions of people, Han Fei immediately shouted, Scattered Stars Island, where is the commander of the logistics division? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. General Han, I'm here. Swish, an intermediate explorer, strode over. He was completely dumbfounded by what he heard just now. Han Fei said that it was the resources that he had accumulated for more than 10 years. At first, he scoffed at it, but now he was overjoyed. All the resources were for his own use. On the first day that General Han took office, he offered such great benefit. How could he not be happy? Han Fei saw a chubby guy flying over. When he was on the Scattered Stars Island, he was still weak. He had seen some of the ordinary vice-captains. Generally, peak-level hidden fishers and law enforcers could take up the post. However, it was impossible for the leaders of every major clan to be weak. Otherwise, what would they do if something big happened? However, these people usually did not show themselves. After all, the Myriad Demon Valley was not strong in the past. Shueishenqi did not really want to completely destroy the Myriad Demon Valley. Instead, he was fighting a defensive battle in the name of training troop. At this moment, the Myriad Demon Valley was not what it used to be. The Scattered Stars Island certainly didn't want to lag behind. However, in comparison, the high-level forces of the Scattered Stars Island were still much weaker than those of the 10,000 Demon Valley. This person flew over and shouted, This subordinate is the patrol inspector of the logistics division, Wang Lin. Greetings, General Han. Han Fei glanced at the man casually and shouted casually, Wang Lin, you will lead the commanders, deputy commanders, and important personnel of the 4 logistics regiments on the Scattered Stars Island to cross-check my assets and store them in batches. But if there are any mistakes, they will be punished by military law. Wang Lin shouted, Yes, General Han. If there is even the slightest mistake with this batch of resources, I, Wang Lin, will definitely take my own head. Han Fei said again, Wang Lin, remember what I said. If the shares subscribed by the big clans are 1 low-quality pearl less than mine, tell me. Wang Lin was speechless. What else could he do except to agree? Compared with the big clans, he was more interested in the resources in front of him. He had seen a lot of money. How many assets did Han Fei have? Of course, a lot, but not enough to make Wang Lin excited to the extent that he couldn't control himself. He didn't know how Shueishenqi selected him to be in this position. What really shocked Wang Lin was the amount of spirit awakening fluid Han Fei had. How many undersea smoke chong did Han Fei snatch? Even the Scattered Stars Island at its peak didn't have 10 million caddies of spirit awakening fluid. The annual consumption of spirit awakening fluid in the 36 towns and the 1,000-star city added up to 2 million caddies of spirit awakening fluid. Plus the daily exchange consumption of the Scattered Stars Island, The amount of spirit awakening fluid consumed a year was as high as 5 million caddies. Therefore, every year they had to compete for the undersea chimneys. Han Fei casually threw out 2 years' worth of spirit awakening fluid. This amount was really amazing. But only the venerable powerhouses knew that spirit awakening fluid was nothing more than the assimilation of seawater, which was not a good thing. However, this was because their realm was different and their vision was different. Spirit awakening fluid was simply a treasure for those below the law enforcer realm. Han Fei thought to himself, it's just 10 million caddies, only 10 sea-swallowing seashells. I still have more than 90 on me. At this time, Han Fei looked at Tianheng. Humph, Tianheng, do you still think I'm greedy for money? Do I, Han Fei, deserve to be the commander-in-chief? Tianheng was already sweating. F***ck, is Han Fei crazy? Also, where the F***ck did you get so much private wealth? Tianheng gritted his teeth. If Han Fei wanted to buy people's hearts with money, he had done it now. He could almost imagine what the millions of soldiers of the Scattered Stars Island would think if he donated such a huge amount of resources for free. He couldn't clearly point out Han Fei's problem. If he still forcibly blocked the way of the millions of soldiers, he would probably be torn to pieces by the eyes of these countless people. Tianheng gritted his teeth. I'm not talented, but I will always pay attention to this matter. Han Fei sneered. Do you think it's your turn to pay attention to it? The Tactical Command Center is responsible for tactical command, not supervision and judgment. My background will be investigated by the whole world. Just do your duty as a tactical commander. Then Han Fei shouted, Scattered Stars Prison, where is Zhang Ting? Yes. Zhang Ting rose into the air, bowed his head and said, General Han. Han Fei nodded. Listen to my order. The Scattered Stars Island will set up a new department, called the Department of Supervision. You can investigate me and the soldiers. You can investigate everything on the Scattered Stars Island. As for the position of the prison warden of the Scattered Stars Prison, you will temporarily take over. Zhang Ting frowned. F***ck, why do you like me? This is a matter that will offend people. Son of AB***tch, you must be holding a grudge against me. Zhang Ting braced himself and said, Yes, Zhang Ting. It seemed that Han Fei was very selfless. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, a department of the Scattered Stars Prison was specially set up to monitor the entire island. Besides, this new department was personally in charge of the big shots of the Scattered Stars Prison. Who wouldn't believe it? Tianheng's face turned blue and then red, and he could only retreat. Han Fei's move was really crazy. How could Zhang Ting be ordinary since he could control the Scattered Stars Prison? How could he have been in charge of the Scattered Stars Prison for so long? Han Fei answered all the questions raised by Tianheng with just one move. When the doubts turned into suspicions, all that was left was a topic of gossip, which would become an extremely mysterious topic in the carnival shop, giving rise to all kinds of strange stories. After dismissing Tianheng, Han Fei looked at Chu Qing and the others coldly and said unkindly, Guys, please send someone back to inform the clans. If you can't get the resources within 3 days, please leave the Scattered Stars Island. Otherwise, go back to your 1,000-star city. In the future, the Scattered Stars Island will no longer have anything to do with the big clans of the 1,000-star city. Han Fei looked at Chu Qing with a smile, knowing that they wouldn't retreat. The remains of the kings were like the sea-quelling painting and the entrance to the divine palace. In their eyes, they were all extremely important, far more important than the so-called resources. Even if these big clans went back on their word and became public enemies, they would definitely take action. In this case, these resources had to be given. If they didn't, they would become the public enemy of the entire Scattered Stars Island and the 36 towns. After all, the supply of the Scattered Stars Island and the 36 towns would remain unchanged, and might even increase. Besides, once the scattered stars island completely cut off the supply to the Thousand-Star City, the resources that should have flowed into the Thousand-Star City would all flow into the 36 towns. In the long run, the foundation of the 36 towns would only become stronger and stronger. The ordinary people of the Thousand-Star City could still be selected to come to the Scattered Stars Island. Only the strength of the big clans would decline. Even the big clans had a lot of star beads in their hands. However, the star bead secret realms were only suitable for exploration. How could they be as valuable as a place like the Scattered Stars Island? Yang Kun shouted, "Han Fei, if we leave and the sea demons attack again, you will be punished." "You? How can we resist them?" Because Yi Kai was tricked by Han Fei just now, Yang Kun didn't dare to send a voice transmission and directly said it out loud. However, the Yang family was simple-minded. So what if they were venerables? Han Fei had never taken them seriously. Han Fei's voice echoed between heaven and earth. The big clans don't make any contribution to the Scattered Stars Island. Yesterday, in the Battle of the Sea of Pearls, Sun Baixing failed to entangle the sea demon Venerable and almost caused immeasurable losses. What's the use of you if you can't do anything? Sun Baixing's face turned red. The enemy is powerful. It's normal that I failed to entangle him because I was careless. Han Fei suddenly burst into fury. Shut up. You almost killed tens of thousands of people because of your carelessness. Who dares to use you? The big clans in the Thousand-Star City have many strong masters. Which family doesn't have a mid-level venerable? Why are you here? If I take action, I can kill you on the spot with 3 punches. Do you deserve to be called a venerable? Han Fei's voice rumbled and shook the world. Off the field, countless people felt their blood boil when they heard it. Sure enough, those who could become generals were all extraordinary figures. With the power of an explorer, Han Fei wanted to kill a venerable with 3 punches. F***ck, wasn't this a fantasy? However, no one didn't believe it. Even Sun Baixing himself was a little convinced. He didn't dare to answer Han Fei's words, for fear that Han Fei would have a life-and-death battle with him. Han Fei was very familiar with this kind of thing. Someone below also said to him via voice transmission, "That's right. How can he be a venerable? He almost killed countless people." Han Fei sneered. The big clans are just SOSO. They are far worse than the 7 major sects of the Thousand-Star City. In yesterday's battle, Elder Six Sword, Elder Bingyun, and the Sword Venerable protected the territory of the Scattered Stars Island, preventing the Sea Demon Venerable from invading. They are much more useful than you. With that said, Han Fei said with a smile, "After careful consideration, I'm willing to cooperate with the 7 major sections. Elder Six Sword, please inform the 7 academies. If you are interested, you can help the Scattered Stars Island." Shueishenqi looked at Han Fei's skillful means and nodded slightly. Han Fei had completely turned the big clans into big villains. At the same time, he wanted to rope in the 7 major sects. He wanted to completely isolate the big clans. Elder Six Sword, Elder Bingyun, and Jian Sanqing looked at each other and felt that it was a good idea. This would not only allow the experts of the 7 major sects to enter the island, but also make friends with Han Fei. Why not? The relationship between the 7 major sects and the Thug Academy was actually not that bad. Besides, Han Fei had a close relationship with the Heavenly Sword sect. Now that Han Fei was in charge of the Scattered Stars Island, shouldn't he be on good terms with the 7 major sects? In an instant, Elder Six Sword walked out of the void and said seriously, "Okay, at most one day, the 7 major sects will definitely send envoys." Han Fei nodded slightly. "That's good." In the distant void, Ningjing watched this scene the whole time and couldn't help patting her chest. She was taken aback. So many venerables, but Han Fei could deal with them? That little mouth of hers was too talkative. Even if a group of venerables joined forces, they still couldn't beat him in an argument. Chapter 1403. Looking at Chu Qing and the other 3 who were like clowns, Han Fei sneered in his heart. There may be something wrong with my position, but so what? I'm rich. Having money and not using it were two different things. Although the aristocratic families sat on a huge amount of resources, they had many descendants of different levels. The amount of resources needed to nurture an outstanding disciple was unfathomable, let alone such a large family. Therefore, in the big families, the distribution of resources was firmly controlled by the people in the center of power. But what about Han Fei? If one person was full, the whole family would not be hungry. If there was too much money, it would be a burden. If it weren't for the fact that it could be regarded as a resource, he wouldn't be interested in it at all. For example, the spirit awakening fluid was of no use to him now. If it weren't for the fact that he was afraid that throwing out 100 million kilograms of spirit awakening fluid would scare away the big families and even arouse covetous eyes, Han Fei might have really thrown it out. In the past, when he was blackmailing the big families, Han Fei's vision was too low. The 10,000 spiritual fruits and 1,000,000 kilograms of spiritual spring were not enough for him. In that case, he would be ruthless today. Han Fei thought, I have to check this matter personally. If any family has less resources, they won't come to the Scattered Stars Island. If they come, I'll get rid of them and do it above board. Chu Qing gnashed his teeth. Han Fei, you are very good, Han Fei said disdainfully. Nonsense. Do I need you to judge whether I am good or not? Also, don't call me by my name next time, please call me General Han. Humph. With a swish, Chu Qing tore open the void and left gloomily. As dignified venerables, Chu Qing and the others had never thought that one day they would be so humiliated. When he left, he said in his heart, this hatred is absolutely irreconcilable. However, Chu Qing and the others were at a different level from Han Fei. It was impossible for them to beat Han Fei in jesting. After these people left, Han Fei spoke again, his voice shaking like thunder. Now that I have succeeded to the throne, I dare not let Marshal Shui down. I will try my best to repay the human race. After a pause, Han Fei continued, order the logistics division to classify and distribute the items I just donated to the subordinate departments within 3 days. This matter was monitored by everyone on the island. Whoever dares to be greedy will be executed. Buzz. At that moment, the millions of people were shocked. Damn, what kind of godly efficiency is this? Within 3 days, they had to allocate such a large amount of resources? Wang Lin's face fell. What the F***ck? Are they going to work around the clock? 3 days? My logistics division doesn't need to operate anymore? However, Wang Lin thought, the current situation is tense, efficiency is the most important. He was prepared to do this personally. Immediately, Wang Lin said, Commander Han, may I be so bold as to request Commander Han to immediately give me the resources so that I can start the preparations immediately. Han Fei thought that Wang Lin was reliable and immediately nodded. Okay. However, with such a huge amount of resources, let's count them right here. Once you're done, go back to the warehouse. Wang Lin smiled bitterly in his heart. This Han Fei really wants to show off. What can I do? Immediately, Wang Lin shouted, all members of the logistics division, come here quickly and cooperate with me. Everyone, please make way for us. Han Fei didn't care and waved his hand casually. Millions of spiritual springs and tens of thousands of spiritual fruits hung in the sky. The spiritual springs were like the Milky Way hanging upside down, and the spiritual fruits were like stars all over the sky, dazzling people's eyes. When the spirit awakening fluid flowed down like a waterfall, many people couldn't stand it anymore. Shueishenqi was speechless. Do you have to do this? You make it sound as if you, the general, were just bought? Han Fei seemed to have expected this and casually threw out a large pile of sea-swallowing seashells. Okay. Take your time to sort them out. Silence. While the people of the logistics division were sorting out the materials, The millions of soldiers below were either talking to each other via voice transmission or whispering. Being shouted at by Han Fei, they immediately lowered their voices, waiting to hear what Han Fei was going to say next. But Han Fei's voice became deep. Soldiers, as you know, the sea demons have become more and more powerful recently. After repeated confirmation by me, Commander Shui, and other strong masters, it has been confirmed that the legendary Sea Demon King City has appeared. Huh! Hiss. What? Sea Demon King City? In an instant, the entire scattered stars island fell into an uproar. Even Wang Lin and the others who were counting the resources were dumbfounded. Someone wondered, where is the Sea Demon King City? Someone was stunned. The King City, that's the legendary super force behind the Sea Demons. Someone said solemnly, in the past there were occasional heavenly talents from the Sea Demon King City. But is it true or not? No one can say for sure. Is it confirmed this time? Han Fei said, recently, you may have noticed that the number of strong masters on the Scattered Stars Island has increased, and even venerables have appeared. This was unheard of in the past. And on the Sea Demon's side, as many as 20 Tao-seeking realm great demons have died in my hands alone. 2 venerables have also died. It can be seen that the number of strong sea demons is increasing rapidly. Someone exclaimed, what should we do? Is a war going to break out? Someone cursed, what do you mean? A war has already broken out. Someone sighed. No wonder there have been more and more wars in the past few months. Someone was dumbfounded. It wasn't easy in the past. Now, the sea demons have become so strong. Can we still resist them? When the million soldiers were a little panicked, Han Fei shouted again, everyone, don't panic. The sea demons are becoming stronger, but our human race is not without strong masters. Although the sea demons are strong, they can't be endless. In the past several wars, when didn't human beings win? It was like this in the past, and it will be like this in the future. The reason why I want to tell you this is that I'm going to do something big. Although I can make a decision on this matter, I still need to respect your opinions. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. The Supreme Commander wanted to ask for their opinions? Han Fei seemed to be very friendly to the people. Some people wondered what was it that made Han Fei not dare to make a decision on his own? In the midst of the discussion, Han Fei said, soldiers from the 36 towns, how many of you didn't know the existence of this place until you came to the Scattered Stars Island? How many of you have families waiting for you after you died? How many of you have dedicated silently without anyone knowing? I know you. Because I'm also from the 36 towns. Like many of you, I'm from the same hometown. I've been in the level 1 fishery, the level 2 fishery, and the level 3 fishery together. I've also boarded dragon boats and explored secret realms. With a few words, Han Fei separated the soldiers of the 1,000-star city from the people of the 36 towns. Because most of the soldiers of the 1,000-star city didn't have such an experience. Besides, the people of the 1,000-star city had always known that the Scattered Stars Island was a place that only the 36 towns kept a secret from them. Why did they keep it a secret? Because the 36 towns were too weak, and not many strong masters were born there. More people hoped that the people of the 36 towns could live in peace and pursue strength with peace of mind. Therefore, as soon as Han Fei said this, countless people felt the same way. Someone laughed. Back then, I won first place in the resource competition in the village. At that time, I was the pride of our village. Someone smacked his lips and said, you may not believe it. When I boarded a dragon boat for the first time, I was so scared that I almost peed my pants. How could there be such a big boat in this world? Someone sighed. Now that I think about it, although it was dangerous at that time, danger and excitement coexisted. Adventure, treasure hunting, becoming stronger, everything was very simple. While everyone sighed with emotion, Han Fei said, Everyone, Marshal Shui and I think it's time to tell those people in the 36 towns about the scattered stars island. Let them know that their comfortable lives were earned by them fighting on the front line with their swords and sabers. Let them know that the spirit awakening fluid they use to awaken spirits, and the weapons they use to brave adventures are earned by you fighting with your flesh and blood. The Sea Demon King City is coming, and the fate of mankind is intertwined. They need to be vigilant. For a moment, many people were silent. This question was actually quite difficult to answer. Although deep in their hearts, they very much wanted others to know what they were doing on the scattered stars island. But in the 36 towns, life was easy and comfortable. Such a beautiful state of life was broken just like this, revealing a bloody world to them? How cruel was this? But while many people were silent, those from the Thousand-Star City took it for granted. Isn't this what we should do? I've said before that there's no need to hide the existence of the scattered stars island. When people die, they don't even dare to tell us how they died. Tell us that they were eaten by a powerful fish when they were adventuring? Ha ha! An ordinary person from the Thousand-Star City said, "We are killing enemies outside and have children at home, so we have the motivation to cultivate hard. We have been weaving a beautiful dream for them. Once this dream is broken, what should we do?" In an instant, millions of people, all ordinary people from the Thousand-Star City, felt that this was a matter of course. Half of them came from the 36 towns and actually wanted to tell those people in the 36 towns. However, the other half, most of them had families and were very hesitant. They might not want their families to worry about them. Han Fei said, "That's what I hope. Even if you die, your family, your children, your relatives and friends will know that you are real heroes, heroes who have fought for the continuation of the entire human race." Han Fei's voice was excited. "I hope that behind each of you, there will be a pair of eyes that trust and look forward to you. If you don't die, you will become their heroes. If you die, you will inspire them to move forward." In an instant, many people looked up at Han Fei. Suddenly, someone shouted, "I agree, the Scattered Stars Island should tell the 36 towns the truth." The people from the Thousand-Star City naturally agreed. In their opinion, this was a matter of course, and at this moment they all agreed. With someone taking the lead, the situation suddenly became one-sided. Only to hear that mountainous and ocean-like voice reverberating in the air above the sea god square. The voices of a million soldiers rolled. "We agree to tell the 36 towns about the Scattered Stars Island." Millions of people united, and a strange power suddenly emerged between heaven and earth. This power was drilling into Han Fei's body. Han Fei's feeling was the most obvious. This was not human aura, nor was it willpower, but a wonderful gentle power. After entering his body, it dissipated into nothingness. Suddenly, Han Fei's eyes lit up. He felt it. This was the power of will. Chapter 1404. Han Fei didn't get carried away by the power of faith. When he decided to inherit the position of the Supreme Commander, he had already thought about some things. The 36 towns were no weaker than the Thousand-Star City, just like the former City of Justice. Anyone in a village could go to the City of Justice, and anyone could take on tasks in the City of Justice. There was no such thing as a person in a main city being stronger than a person in a village. They were all mortals who cultivated. Everything depended on oneself to pave the way for cultivation. For the first time, Han Fei had a real ambition in his heart. He wanted to open up the passage between the 36 towns and the Thousand-Star City. He wanted to destroy all the big clans in the Thousand-Star City. Han Fei even wanted to change the relationship between the academies of the Thousand-Star City and the 36 towns. They were all academies, so why couldn't they enroll students in a unified way? Could they enroll talents with a fixed score? When the Thousand-Star City and the 36 towns were completely connected, the world would be unified. Exchanging a glance with Shueishenqi, Han Fei said via voice transmission, "My goal is to conquer the entire human race." Shueishenqi looked serious. Of course. Otherwise, I would have objected. While the crowd was cheering, Han Fei held the rod in his hand and raised it high with one hand. I don't want to see you repeatedly lose your mind for the sake of human beings. Inspectors of the Island Patrol Team and the Law Enforcement Team, come out. Hum. Hum. Two figures rushed over from a distance in a few steps. I'm Meng Liang of the Island Patrol Team. Nice to meet you, General Han. I'm Zhou Tianfa, the Inspector of the Law Enforcement Team. Nice to meet you, General Han. Han Fei shouted, I order you two to inspect all the soldiers on the island from today on. All the seriously injured and disabled are to take off their armor and return to their hometown. Anyone below the law enforcement realm who has fought on the Scattered Stars Island for more than 8 years must submit an application if they want to stay on the Scattered Stars Island. After the examination and approval, they can stay. The crowd was in an uproar. Some people were dumbfounded. They met the requirements to return to their hometown, but why would they go back? Someone immediately shouted, General Han, I won't go back. The Scattered Stars Island has already become our home. We won't leave. We won't leave. Even the soldiers shouted one after another, We won't leave. Han Fei smiled bitterly. It's hard to be discharged from the army. These people were used to going through fire and water here. If they returned home, they would not be able to sleep well. However, Han Fei's voice was like thunder as he shouted, The situation on the Scattered Stars Island is about to be announced to the 36 towns. Could it be that you want me to issue an order to forcefully notify them? The Scattered Stars Island was an unknown place in their eyes. It was a mysterious and sacred place, and he could shatter their illusions with his own hands. However, don't be too direct and violent. I need you to tell them the heroic stories, battles, and epics of the Scattered Stars Island. You have made great contributions to mankind. Why don't you go home? Someone shouted, General Han, there's no one left at home. Are we going to go back and tell stories? Yeah. We don't have to go back and make up a story ourselves, do we? I can't wait. Han Fei felt a headache too. He shouted again, If you want to stay, write an application yourself. You should know that if you don't retreat, how will the newcomers come up? There will be talented people in every generation, and they will lead the world for hundreds of years. In the future, the Scattered Stars Island will be a battlefield known to the world, a place where the flames of war are burning. The 36 towns need your encouragement. In the crowd, some people didn't listen at all and shouted wildly, I won't go home. Smack. At that moment, someone slapped him on the head. You don't belong to me? I remember you have a son. Do you want your son to die without knowing whether his father is here or not? A captain-level powerhouse scolded, General Han is merciful. Don't bark like crazy. If you don't want to go home, write an application. If you don't want to go home, I really want to kick you to death. Meng Liang and Zhou Tianfa smiled bitterly. This task was a bit tricky, but Han Fei didn't care. After explaining this controversial matter, Han Fei finally took over Shueishenqi's 13-star token. Han Fei eventually accepted Shueishenqi's 13-star token. After he volunteered a huge sum of money and used the big families in the 1,000-star city as his scapegoat, he finally accepted the position of the new marshal. On the same day, the entire Scattered Stars Island was undergoing a revolution. Han Fei's more than 100 heaven-level cultivation arts and combat skills and more than 1,000 below the heaven level attracted the attention of everyone below the explorer level. Because everyone knew that the logistics division had to sort out resources, the resource exchange window of the logistics division was very small, directly reduced by 90%. On the other hand, those cultivation techniques were immediately copied and passed on from 1 to 10, and from 10 to 100. But no matter what, the logistics division, which had to stay in the central city, was already overcrowded. The square inside and outside the logistics division of the East, West, North, and South divisions were already filled with people. Someone shouted, "Haha, this water-stirring seal is too powerful. Once this technique is used, seals may become the trend." Someone despised, "Bullsh *t, the water-stirring seal is not powerful at all. This war soul archery technique is a heaven-level high-quality archery technique. This is really powerful." Someone sighed. Although the war soul archery technique is powerful, it consumes too much spiritual energy. What kind of guy can shoot so many arrows? Someone laughed and scolded, "What do you know? Don't be attracted by the lethal combat skills. This flying fish technique is a heaven-level high-quality movement technique. If I can learn and master this technique, I can fight two sea demons of the same realm." Many people exclaimed, "You are all wrong. Look at this 108 spirit-absorbing war bodies. It is a demon-level divine-quality body-refining technique. This is the only divine-quality body-refining technique donated by Marshal Han. It is said that Marshal Han personally practiced this body-refining technique. It is the rarest in the Scattered Stars Island and no one can match it." At this moment, in the crowd, several people were smiling bitterly beside the garden outside the logistics division. A short-haired girl said, "It turns out that he practiced this great technique. Lihani, do you still want to compete with him now?" Lihani was naturally the Lihani from the Blue Sea Town. The former heavenly talent of the Blue Sea Town had disappeared. At this moment, Lihani sighed leisurely. "I have long stopped competing with him. But this 108 spirit-absorbing war bodies was given out too late. I can't use it and you can't use it either. I'm afraid that Han Fei wants someone to pass this great technique back to the 36 towns." This was also what countless people sighed about. The body-refining technique was different from other technique. In each realm, one didn't polish his physique, and the further he advanced, the more difficult it was to polish it. No matter how he polished his body, he couldn't polish it like when he was in a weak realm. Of course, if he had a special opportunity, it was also possible. However, there weren't so many special opportunities in the world. After all, only a few people would encounter them. And in this vast crowd, there was another person standing at the gate of the logistics division, in a trance. Lin Wu looked at the 108 spirit-absorbing war bodies, and was in a trance. In the past 5 or 6 years, she had been cultivating diligently, breaking through many secret realms and experiencing thousands of tribulations. Finally, she came to the Scattered Stars Island 2 months ago. When she first came to the Scattered Stars Island, Lin Wu was shocked by the strong masters here. For a rookie like her who had just entered the Scattered Stars Island, almost everyone here had a higher realm than her. But Lin Wu was confident in her potential. In just 5 or 6 years, she broke through 3 realms: a great fishing master, a dangling fisher, and a hanging fisher. Because in her life, there once appeared a different person, a master who liked to eat barbecue. Lin Wu looked at the 108 spirit-absorbing war bodies, blankly, wondering, is General Han my senior brother? Lin Wu didn't think that Han Fei would be her master. After all, her teacher once said that he wandered between heaven and earth, and had no fixed residence. Lin Wu felt that such a person should at least be stronger than those so-called venerables, right? Anyway, he must be stronger than Han Fei. Lin Wu frowned, thinking that this senior brother was really unreliable. He even offered the great technique passed down by her teacher to the world for free. However, she didn't intend to say that she was still too weak. Maybe she couldn't see the problem that senior brother saw. Since senior brother did this, there must be a reason. Thinking of this, Lin Wu was relieved. She just needed to cultivate hard. Her goal was never the Scattered Stars Island. But now, she was going to grow up on the Scattered Stars Island. She had already planned her growth route for herself. Her first step was to be able to walk thousands of kilometers away from the coastline. The island was in full swing and very lively. On the second day after Han Fei took over as the Supreme Commander, people from the 7 academies came. This time, there was an acquaintance of Han Fei, Mu Tianfang of the Heavenly Sword sect. Mu Tianfang was still a peak-level explorer, but today, with Han Fei's eyesight, he found that Mu Tianfang was actually half a venerable. Besides, judging from his vigorous qi and blood, Han Fei felt that Mu Tianfang was probably suppressing him. A total of 4 venerables and 14 explorers came from the 7 major sections. Among them, in addition to Jian Sanqing, the 6 sword ancestors, and Elder Bingyun, there was also Fire Moon Fairy of the Sea Tower, the Death Door sect, the Origin Returning Peak, and the Mountain Sea Pavilion didn't send any venerables but only explorers. Han Fei didn't know whether they didn't have any or were unwilling to come. This force was not weak, but it was definitely not strong either. These 4 venerables, plus Xuexinqi, Han Fei, and Elder Chen, were equivalent to 7 venerables. As his trump cards, Old Han and Peaceful definitely wouldn't show up for nothing. This also meant that no matter big or small, these 7 venerables were probably the limit that he could use now. As for the big clans, even if they brought resources, they would also come. But if they really fought, it would be very difficult for them to fight the enemy to the death. Because their purpose was not pure. They just came for the king's corpse. At this moment, Han Fei said, "You should understand what I mean. No matter what happens on the Scattered Stars Island, the big clans now have great power and abundant resources, and they are the target of our common resistance. If the big clans get the Empyrean waterfall, you can imagine the consequences. Think about it yourself." Mu Tianfang looked at the majestic Han Fei and thought to himself, "It's only been a few years, and Tang Ji's strength has just reached the advanced sea spirit level, which is already amazing. But Han Fei can already kill a venerable, which is really unbelievable." Mu Tianfang said, "Of course we know about the big clans, but we need to confirm one thing. The students of the 7 major sects must be treated equally. Besides, the resource transactions with the big clans must be doubled.